Right, this is going to be the newest episode of Snake and Banter, and the new guest is an old guest. Something, everything new is old is new again. It's Launders, he's back. And actually, put it this way, this wasn't intentional, but at some point in this episode, watch out for it, I will do a callback to a famous point Launders made on this show in the past. It's actually quite an obvious one if you think about it, but let's just, let's pretend this is theatre. We don't want to spoil it for people. Audience participation segment will be later on. You can all say the catchphrases out loud. That's right. At this point in time, guys, what I've realised is, since I've discovered that you thinking I'm actually masturbating while doing the talk show doubles the viewership, I've just decided to forget all that analysis and all that, 20 plus years of being a nerd about history. We're just going to have catchphrases, whack things that appeal to. We're going to pretend we care what you think at home. Your thoughts are important to us. We're just doing it all. Basically, I'm just going to become 2 Pixel. That's going to be my new streamer name. Whatever. I don't even know what 2 is in German. Who gives a? The key part is who gives a fuck. Yeah, who gives a fuck, mate? Who gives a fuck? And the joke is, obviously, normally Maui is a British person. He's supposed to say, hey, my grandfather wouldn't have thought that much for me to be speaking German. But the real punchline is, if you go to Germany, they're not even speaking German themselves. That's sort of a political joke there, Launders. Maybe just leave that one be. You've already got yourself in enough trouble. By the way, I do appreciate that when I did the episode with Scrawny, we did ask him, and even his own parents are like, it's Launders going to be doing this whole racism thing a lot more. Yeah.
Wait, what did he say?
Basically, I don't think him and his family are the biggest fans of the fact you're branding yourself as I am a racist.
Oh, every family I know is confused, and I get it. I
love it. I know. It's all right. Here's the thing, Launders. The thing about complex, controversial takes on races, and many times you're decades ahead of everyone, and you'll never truly be appreciated for your takes in the here and now, Launders. But as long as the children of the revolution, understand that you were the one leading the way in the vanguard, then it'll all be good. You'll probably have statues made to you one day, mate.
Yeah, all the greatest minds in history were misunderstood, right? I think that's
exactly. We won't list any now, but you guys at home can make your own imaginary lists who those might indeed be. I used to love this really great one. It used to make rap albums back in the day, but dead now, of course. So I'm not referring to Kendrick Lamar, right? Anyway.
Dead name.
Anyway, although actually, as a random detail, as an aside, I swear I have heard all of 90s classic hip hop, and this is one of those moments that there is one of those Mandela effect things that just isn't real, but it is if you go on the internet. This is where I wonder how far has AI gone. There's a hidden Biggie track that no one knew about, Launders. This is mental. There's a guy called Tracy Lees, and he did a track where he had Biggie appear as a feature. I swear I've never heard this ever in my life, bro. I've heard all night hip hop, but if you look, and they claim it's because it's something even though Biggie's on the track, he wasn't allowed to actually put on the thing featuring Notorious B.I.G. because I guess that carries some sort of maybe you have to pay a fee for that as well, to big up your record. So it's one of those ones where if you listen to it, it's mega, by the way. His verse is unbelievable, but you'll be like, wait a minute. That's that thing where Maui, where even though part of me goes, listen, of course not, don't be stupid, all the evidence is there. I actually do, every time I think about it, I do start to think, Maui, maybe they did just make up that Wilt Chamberlain 100-point game, because the joke is, they've got footage of everything else ever that happened. They've got him just getting out of streetcars, just having dinner, but they haven't got the 100-point, you know what I mean? It's you just, over time, you start to get more red pill to some of these conspiracies, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I actually want to talk about cultural impact, man. Biggie Smalls, was he have one album? And we
talked about it
much
as
anyone else today? Yeah.
No, it's nuts, isn't it? By the way, the joke is it actually is like the early esports people, because I always tell people, people like Heaton had a long career, and it was 5 years. That was oh my God. Now the joke is, if you do 10 years in CS, you're just a normal pro. It's not even anything crazy, is it? No, it's true. Yeah. It's true. Some of these people did hardly anything. Anyway, just sit, listen. Obviously, Maui's had a long day. He doesn't have to jump in on that. He can keep all the other stuff elsewhere. Although I will reference, actually, maybe it'll come up in this episode. What I love is this, Maui. Loads of people I know in the scene, present company excluded, because you two actually have two of the better Twitter communities. You have the Launders has the Counter-Strike Elitists one, and Maui has the Mauisnake's Pit one. And at least in yours, people do stay on brand, they get the themes, they post about the same things in there, etc. But a lot of the other ones I've noticed, a lot of people have just abandoned their groups, or they just never went anywhere. It was just people complaining. What's great about Maui's is, as far as I can tell, almost also some AI shit. His group just spawns weird STEM nerds who have nothing else to do all day except like fucking a human Jarvis just run numbers for Maui to try and prove all of his theories right. They just mentioned it. So like,
there are a lot of math guys.
Like if anyone saw today that B-Trams guy has taken the premise we've argued many times of like, Zimu fans overstating how much he has to carry. And he'll just like run all the numbers being like, he played 434 maps and in 11% of them he had to get a 1 point. Like, fucking hell, like, listen, it's good info, but holy shit. But anyway, we might reference that on this episode. There's some good work being done out there. Good work being done.
To be honest, I don't have any of those guys. That my community is just going off the rails, rage baiting every single day. Sometimes.
I know the joke of yours is this, Launders.
Is this just a mirror?
Yours is the only one where I if I see the tweet, I just really quickly flick my eyes up and see what group it is, and if I see it says Counter-Strike Elitist, I know, right, well, you're not going to get me on that one, mate. You're not going to get me on that one guy. If that was a different person's chat, maybe that would be real. But, you're right. It's all just fucking rage bait. It's just perma rage bait, your whole thing.
It's really good for those moments where you kind of want to be mad, and then you read it, and you're like, yeah, this gets me mad. Like, great, I'm in the mood now.
Sure.
It's really active. Your CS Elitist is just constant.
There's a lot of people posting it, yeah.
It's like everything else. When it gets too big, it becomes shit, right? So we've got to do some things to fix it up, but...
And as you say, Launders, I've just written the epiphany you've just given me there is that the purpose, the feature that actually fulfills in our community is we, as the experts, get to experience what it's like to be that annoying fan. When a fan will just be like, well, you said this, that, and the other, and like, I didn't. But you're just like, mad. Essentially, you want to be mad about that thing, and you can't remember who really said it. Like, maybe Launders said it, and I didn't say it. So instead, you're just getting mad at me because you want to be performatively outraged. Normally, when you're the person that they're getting mad at, you didn't say it, you go, what a fucking idiot. But I know what you mean, because if I see some rage bait in your channel, like, Nico will never win a bloody major, he can't even play well, I'm like, the safety's on. That's all you need to know. Otherwise, I'd be fucking tearing up that keyboard, mate. So, anyway, good. By the way, in their own appropriate ways, very different. Good work by all the people in those groups. Keep going, and including all the ones that I rage bait the fuck out of us all. But anyway, at least we know what group it is. We know which way everyone's bread spotted. So, Launders, non-rage bait. What is a good thing in CS right now?
Yeah, unlike my last one, this won't be as tongue-in-cheek. Something I'm actually just really happy about, and something I've been thinking about, is that Academy players have done more for modern Counter-Strike, in my opinion, than almost any other single thing.
Okay.
Whether it's for CS esports in general, when we talk about viewership of the game, I always compared like donk to like what AI was for the stock market. Like everyone thought there was going to be a recession in the stock market. Then all these companies started saying AI for everything, and the stock market just survived. Right. That was kind of what donk was. I feel like at a moment where people were mad about the game, people were wondering who the next star is there ever going to be a rifler #1? Donk comes in, breaks every single record out of the Academy League. And I think that that's not just one person. I think there's other good examples of this. We go back to when in 2021, Bit in his rookie year also had the sort of second most impressive year after zweih. Got Simple his major, which is a huge narrative that we still imagine if we didn't have that moment. A huge part of that is Bit's performance at that major, how good he was that year. I think that's what allowed Simple to get that major. When we talk about the state of the game today, we're talking about Maus as #2 with a bunch of Academy League players. We have Shuhei, who's now IGLing Liquid, who are underperforming, but they're only interesting because they have that IGL right now. When we look back at MonteCristo, he's still, I don't know why he's not playing that well at the moment, but at that 600K buyout, when he joined G2, going from Na'Vi, that was one of the most explosive like news weeks ever when it came to how excited we were to like talk about rumors and everything. And I think a lot of these Academy players are basically like consistently bringing us those news. I mean, even Shiro, who's playing with donk, was Gambit Youngsters, probably the best or second best besides Maus in the Academy world, still at the top of the game, new break-in elite opper. And then finally, Kyosuke and almost said Mikaze, being immediately decent in Tier 1, even though it's almost exhausting now to get excited about every single new talent, when it was already exhausting to get excited about MonteCristo when he came out. They have actually done very well. It looks like their interviews are kind of annoying with like, they're so nonchalant. They don't care about the circumstances. I loved your tweet about this, Maui. But they are actually good in the server. They don't look like they're experiencing that much pressure. They look like they have a place to, for Mikaze to replace JL, that actually should be very difficult. And could totally go wrong. He looks pretty damn good. And Kyosuke was like the only good player on G2 today. So very surprising, very impressive. And I think these new rookies are bringing viewership to levels that I don't think any other one factor in Counter-Strike have brought.
There's a lot of great examples that you brought up. It's actually almost ridiculous. You could bring up even more. I think people forget that Insani, who's the best prospect still in Brazil, not even really a prospect. I mean, his potential and his skill has been actualized and realized, but he was on that MIBR Academy team for a couple years himself. Jota being the guy that reinvigorated Eternal Fire's chances to be an elite team. That is another great Academy player that has now made the leap and is an asset to one of the best rosters that we have in modern CS. Yeah, it's a really broad point because there's so many to choose from, and it's actually in some way it's a bit sad that we can't really put these Academy players on the stages that we once did because there's no similar project to the We Play Academy League. So that's leaving a bit of a bittersweet taste in my mouth because I would love to continue to build the narratives for these guys like we did at We Play, where we were able to see the guys like m0NESY come up and get as hyped as we did for them, because it just came at the perfect time in the year during the off season when no other tournaments were running, no tier 1 tournaments were running. So people, even though you'll tire of the elite tournaments always, or some people do, you don't want to see a Cologne or try to pretend that every tournament has the value of a major every weekend, then the slower period can then be supplemented by what in my eyes was one of the best products, a product that was actually so good that We Play now pretty much turned their back on esports. I mean, now they're just working in the Los Angeles area with the NFL. Like they have actually succeeded at such a high level when it comes to production that they probably see something like the Academy League and then say to themselves, what do we get out of that compared to partnering with the biggest sport in America?
Yeah, they did an excellent job, I think. And even I think they monetized the Academy League. Like they had everybody buy into the league for all their sort of parent orgs and to invest a bit. And so they might have even, managed to make money despite that having lower viewership. But man, to be able to cast that league and to be able to watch it at the time, if you made time for it, that really paid off in terms of how much you would learn about the next generation of players for so many years. And it felt like there was going to be an expiry date on that knowledge. And yet here we are. All those players are still the top of the game. They're still leading almost every team in the top 6, top 7. And everybody else who hasn't tried to incorporate one of them is basically starting to atrophy.
Sure. By the way, I'll even say if you want to go, the reason I like the point as well is it's not just a point of like, the academies are producing good players. If you actually look at, they pretty much have replaced every tier of player that you can have. Like Maui said, if you want to look at people like Donk and m0NESY, the craziest thing with them is it's not just like, wow, they made it to the pro level. They're the best players. Like they were number 1 and number 2 last year, guys. Like I think it's crazy how important it is to have players like that be able to take what now is like the quantum leap. Like the real thing that's crazy for Donk, I think Oniziwu had this before, is what rookie, no matter how good they were, ever really walked into a team that could already like contend for championships. Normally, like the simple as the world, you have to start on the lower team and, force your way through the scene and have the first year or two where it's like, the team that you want to join is even like, is he actually worth picking up and all that? You have to beat them like 3 times as an underdog. These guys actually now, they're at the level in sports where if someone's really insane, people will invest in you from day one. They'll just pick you as the number 1 draft pick and make you the star player of the team. Like they will buy you as like a 17-year-old kid in football and just put you into one of the best teams. So the thing I think people take for granted with Donk and m0NESY especially is, right, we're very lucky in CS that for something about the game doesn't change too much and you can have these players with like 10 years of longevity. But if you think of some of the players that are just the normal humans, the Cold Zeros of the world, that, have the rise and fall of a few years, bro, if those players just like become superstars for 2 or 3 years and then essentially exit the spotlight, I always say this, it doesn't matter if the next player along's like good good at the game or like in theory as good in the game. Like they don't come with the same legend. They don't come with the same like fucking fan appeal and all that. So the cool thing also about people like Duncan Mauisnake is because they've had this like crazy anime storyline where everyone's been trying to see will they fail or are they like, it turns out they are just some like Kwisatz Haderach fucking legendary figures that are supposed to be the next great players. It's also really cool. I can tell you, someone who's played for a long time, you don't get that whack feeling of like, oh, the great players are gone. We have to see who's come along. If people actually are following at all in tennis at the moment, the exact same thing just happened. I actually thought for real, I had a similar thing happen in basketball. I thought in tennis, like I'm probably not going to watch tennis anymore because I was really just specifically a fan of people like Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, even Djokovic, etc. You know, the really great players of that era. And so I thought to myself, maybe I'm not actually a fan of the sport. Maybe I just like those players. And when they retired, I thought, well, it's whack now, isn't it? I'm not going to bother watching. And what if you don't know, there's two players who are the number one and number two players right now, Alcaraz and Sinner, that basically, if you loved those players, they're exactly what the doctor ordered. Like, it's exactly the next great type of player that's come along with similar opinions. So already, I think it's awesome because, yeah, it's true. Even the top end of the scene are academy products. And then, as you say, people forget, basically all of Mouse's, just not Broland, that's it. And then what used to be Shuhei, obviously, he's now in Liquid. No, mate, you can go down the list. Like, obviously, Kyousuke himself is like, bro, the joke is, this is what people still have missed with the Kyousuke angle. Mate, his buyout might be like the highest ever for anyone in CS, if you think about it. If it was really $2 million or something like that, the joke is, in the past, you would only pay that for like Simple in their prime when you know they're guaranteed to be a 10 out of a 10. So already, I think actually that starts, by the way, with the Mauisnake signing. Didn't Mauisnake being the one to make the first jump in the matrix, as it were? He's the real reason why people pay 600 and 700k. Like, if you don't have Mauisnake, you don't have Headtrick, you don't have Jambo, you don't have the... No one's paying for sight unseen. And there's no way, by the way, you're paying millions for Kyousuke. No way.
Absolutely. It felt like you're taking a risk when it was Mauisnake. Now looking back, it was obvious and it was a perfect move.
Yeah.
But I want to also add that this isn't random at this point. It's also not a coincidence that it's like random players from the same region. It's because they've got Hallie and Blade over there. Their organization is structured so well that we saw in We Play Academy League, Blade hanging out with Navi junior players, right, teaching them how to play the game. The same thing with Spirit. They just did a roundtable at Cologne with Sponge and Nico Donk and one other rifler. They asked Donk, what do you think about Kyousuke? Like, do you think he'll also just be good? And he said, yes, because he played at Spirit Academy. So even though he didn't directly play with him in the academy,
it was Robs was the other person. The other person on the round
Robs,
table.
yeah. So he knows exactly what kind of education you get there. And we see that when Navi Junior are scouting new players, they say, get to 4K ELO by 15 years old, and we'll give you a chance on the lineup. So once you put in the work individually, as long as you become that raw gem, they can teach you to become a consistent tier 1 player. It feels like almost on command now. It's going to be a thing that has to be followed by other organizations. Otherwise, like, they're not going to make as much money as Navi and Spirit. They're not going to produce as many good players as Navi and Spirit. They're basically going to control all of the cash flow and all the competition for the next few years if they can keep doing that.
And also, like you were saying, Maui, there's more names you can go down. Like, I'll give you one that's a current one on my mind right now. The new NiP player, Kaspersky, used to be on Young Ninjas years ago. It's just he went via Ents and came back. In fact, I'll make a very quick prediction that ties into this point, Launders. I actually predict in the future, a bit like I've heard was in Shui's contract, I can tell you in European football, soccer, it is a massive factor now because they've had these academies for years, that not only just academy players, sometimes if you just have a young player, my favourite team, actually, Liverpool, does this. Basically, they try to have players that are younger than 24 years old because their logic goes, if we end up selling you in your prime, first of all, you make the most from the person then because they've got the most years of their prime to come. But also what you do in the modern day is sometimes what you'll do is you'll offer the buyout slightly less. This is what I predict will happen with academy prospects. You make the buyout a bit less. Like, let's be real, people aren't going to buy people for 2 million. That was just because it was Falcons. It was just because Kyousuke was like the next donk, which there isn't another player like that right now. But what I predict will happen is this, is if you're the academy that's invested time in these people and the player is good, but you just don't want him in your roster, what you'll do is you'll charge a slightly lower buyout, but you'll have a buyback clause. And it'll say something like, essentially, either it'll be just a flat dollar amount, like I can buy him for twice as much as I sold him to you, for example. That way, if he's mega, by the way, in 2 years, I can bring him back to my squad and he can be part of what we were doing. Or you just do something like you can put in factors that, if he makes a major, then the buyout goes up or something like that. The point is, you can do it in a way that structures it for everyone to make it fair. But the reason why I think you'll see that is there's been so much success with these academies that, like, at this point in time, bear in mind, there are very few people you are just going to punt straight into your tier 1 team. I think teams will want a chance to potentially, like, still benefit from the development development of that player later. It'll be more akin to, again, in European football, it's quite common actually when a player's like 18 and he's really good. You lend him to another team to use for a while so he has active play time and you see if he's good again. But then later you might bring him back, put him on. So I even think that's going to be a thing, mate, because I agree with you. A lot of people now have basically decided, rather than take the same money and just spend it on buyouts, why not take that money, invest it, and just hope that you get 2 or 3 players from your academy team that you can sell or you can just use instead of the buyout. I feel like that's the new strategy. By the way, funny enough, from this COVID period where everyone was at home, I feel like that academy league, that wasn't just, even though we did it on this show as like a one-off topic, that kind of was what started the whole thing off. You're right. If it wasn't for We Play Academy, before that, academies weren't really a thing. There was like the odd one and they weren't really treated seriously. Now they're actually, thanks to mainly Navi and Mouse, like you said, they're a real thing now. And actually, if anything, Spirit's the next one, right? They're probably going to fucking churn out some more players too. Right, Maui, what is your good point?
Well, we just talked about academy players as a whole, but have to zoom in on one. The kyousuke debut and the follow-up game versus Mongols showed everything, maybe arguably more than what I expected out of him coming into the first series. I mean, this is a guy that really can just change the face of a round so instantaneously. The aim that he has, it's so smooth. It's just, he's doing some of the bobbing and weaving that Donk is doing, but I might be on what King T said a while back, where his aim might actually be better than Donk's. It's so ridiculous watching this guy and how he'll do a little tap crouch, backward strafe, and then it doesn't even look like he's doing it. Like, his crosshair is fixated on people so rapidly, and even if he's throwing out all these little stutter steps and jitters, it doesn't even look like that from his crosshair. You almost just have to look directly from the POV side of it. The fact that it is actually bobbing up and down. This guy is just incredible. I'm shocked that Falcons weren't able to get it over the line today, and that he was the only one that was seemingly putting up a fight versus the Mongols. But in the first matchup that they had, it was just, I mean, versus GamerLegion, he also looked fantastic too. It wasn't quite. It was more of a win by committee in that sort of game. So you had your Modesty moments, your Nico moments there. But today, it really felt like it was just him versus 9. Like the rest of Falcons was doing him very few services, and even when unsupported by other players, other utility, he was able to take the fight to the Mongols players, beat them as they were on heaters for much of this game. And we really do have another rifle star. The way that Falcons has stacked talent at this point is just, it's unfair. It's simply unfair.
Dude, there's just one more star, right? They're so close. So the only thing, what was amazing though was like game versus GamerLegion, they were kind of a punching bag for everybody. Like everybody on Falcons were just like having great rounds. In the Mongols game, it was like mainly kyousuke, but to be honest, he was getting like 1 or 2 deagle kills on ecos, no matter who he was playing against. Like he did it back-to-back rounds where I think he got 2 deagle kills versus the Mongols. It was pretty amazing, to be honest, to watch. I wonder though if there is just like ultimately a space vacuum on the Falcons where, you know, you cannot have everybody playing extremely well or to the level of kyousuke if like Nico is specifically giving up roles to him as well as Tessus is giving up roles to him. I don't think there's many excuses for Modesty, but like as it stands, they did a good job of setting him up. They gave him so much trust to be able to like, you can have every, he said he has every spot he wants basically. So it's like, they gave him tons of trust, which I think would add more pressure. And then and to be fair to him, he had to say, I don't care what tournament I'm in. I just play it. And that's because he was constantly asked that by everybody. So like the answer is kind of annoying, but he can't escape it. When you watch the full interview, he was pretty chill about every question and he just kind of like answered it. But he also did show out and prove that he really wasn't nervous.
No, the funny thing about this is like we're going to sound counterintuitive to fans, but I actually think that we are all doing it the right way, which is I'm going to draw the parallel to when Donk first came in and had that kind of 8 tier, because it reminds me of the same thing. It's like when a player comes in like this, that's insanely hyped at tier 2, you're supposed to tell every fan, they're probably not going to actually be the best player at tier 1. Like, temper your expectations because, spoiler, like, we've only had one guy actually do that, maybe 2, and this might be like the second or the third, depending on how you want to debate that. So they're such unicorns. That is a good rule to put out there because it shows that these guys have broken the mold. But then also, similarly, you want to also tell them, and also, he's not going to be the next Donk, is he? There's only one Donk. But the joke is, like, he also does look like a next Donk. That's also real. Like, I'm actually getting vibes of those first matches, that kind of 8, so where you're watching them like, is he not just going to have any fucking bad maps? Like, what is this? Like, this is stupid. Like, this is almost whack for every other pro in the scene that we all want to tell them when they're on the way up, like the youngsters of the world. Like, chill out, mate. Like, wait till you get there. Like, apparently if you are this goated, you just can be amazing from day one. I'll even say, I agree, Maui. On the aim one, it's weird because I always told people in the early days of Donk that actually he had that weird quality where I never thought he had, like, insane aim. Look, he gets a lot of headshots, but he doesn't have, like, the crazy tracking aim. For me, Donk's way more snappy. This guy is so smooth, it's unreal. I'll use the analogy that we've talked about many times on our basketball show. It's a bit like that famous like hot take in basketball that isn't actually a hot take if you know the sport of basketball, which is because Steph Curry is the best shooter ever. If you then say, I actually think Klay Thompson has better shooting form, people lose their minds because they don't listen to what you said. They don't listen to what you said about like, it's about like how it looks aesthetically. They just go, but Curry is the best shooter. It's like, and no one disagreed with that. I think it's the same thing here. I think Donk is better than kyousuke. That's not a hot take. But the difference is kyousuke has what looks like perfect aim. Like, I agree with you, Maui. He's even the only person I've ever seen that I actually give a fuck about that tech everyone's obsessed with now, of being able to see the keys. I've never understood that, by the way. For a normal player like Nico, I don't need to see the keys, dickhead. I can tell he moved left and he strafed through the mouth. Like, what secret tech are you getting? But the difference is, kyousuke and Donk, in theory, are the only two that I might need that for. Because it means if you hadn't, like Maui, have seen the like Donk side, you would have figured it out from the key movements, actually. And actually, kyousuke, there was a video, I forget the name of the guy now, sadly. He was an Australian guy. I've mentioned this on my video about him. He actually did a video like this about a lot of Donk, a lot of kyousuke's moves he does on T-side, about how he does like those weird half swings and stuff. And basically, this guy has loads of his own little movement tricks. But I agree with you, Maui, especially when he like sprays, you wouldn't see it because if you just look at the crosser, you just think he has insane aim. But he's doing all that like while moving, like in between the fucking sprays. So it's actually real. Again, it has to be some Donk slide shit, mate, because it just works. Like, if this was just some weird gimmick, like, by the way, I've said this a million times, when your Kindar sits like, when your Kindar's like looking at individual electrons in the monitor, that's only dope when you're in 2021 and 2022, you idiot. When you're actually cracked, I can believe that is some secret tech. When you're just like average as fuck now when you're doing it, it's like you're just a person who's destroying his eyesight. Like, you know, it's not cool anymore at that point. So these guys are doing some secretive shit. And it also, there's another thing, by the way, that's nuts. Imagine saying that a brand new rookie has anything in their game from day one. The actual pros should take note of, and I'm not trolling. If I was out there and I was some super sick rifler who's an entry type player like Xertion, I would literally be watching it. I know it sounds mad, it should be the other way around, but you should actually watch his POVs. I'm not trolling. You might actually get some little things you could play in your game that will probably make you even better. So, no, the joke so far is it has only been a few games, but I'm with you, mate. Even in the game they lost, he looked really fucking good. Like, if anything, he was the one that stood up when the others, the veterans, failed. And actually, you know what? The obvious person so far who I do think has gotten absolutely fucked by this guy being in the team, and it was obvious. It's obviously Tessus, right? His game is completely destroyed. Yeah. But here's the saddest part of all. And in some ways, maybe we all Falcons now, boys, because I've just adopted the Falcons mentality, Launders. Because on the one hand, I should think that sucks, right? Tessus was doing his job decently before. You know, he seems like a really cool guy, great mentality. But you know what? If kyousuke can play this way and they can get Duncan and Mauisnake to perform, I don't give a fuck, Tessus. Mate, you can go redder than fucking when Jaws attacks, bro. I don't care. One, if we win the game, shut the fuck up and just have the trophy. And two, if we don't win the game, someone get out that big shortlist and then get the next vault of money open and let's just get that fucking anchor player in. Because I'm sorry, Tessus, if kyousuke is going to be this good, bro, I'm sorry, I have to say, you have to get on your bike, mate. This isn't for you. You've already had loads of fucking money for fight. It's great. I know, listen, it didn't have to be this way. I get it. If Nico and Mauisnake didn't fuck you at that major and they just played normally, you could just be in this team for another couple years. Sadly, it's not going to happen now. It's over for you. I know I've only seen a few games. It's already over for you, Tessus. Pack your bags.
No, you're one of the new. You sound like one of the new fans, man. We're the old guys.
Because this guy's too good.
About this.
This guy's too good, bro. He's just too good.
But yeah, like Tessas is unironically like carrying them for a bit. For like
He was doing a good job before, mate.
Yeah, it's a shame. But you're right about the like form versus like reality about the aim and stuff. Like I would say he kind of looks more like Nico than he does Donk.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. Because the thing about super smooth, you're always correct. Yeah.
And his eagle and everything like that. And I think there are like lots of sports example. Like I'm watching a lot of golf right now. There's like Adam Scott. You want to study this guy's swing, but he's not the best golfer in the world, right? You look at the best golfer in the world, Scotty Scheffler, and his ball is landing way closer to every target he's shooting for. But if you want to look at form, there's different guys. I mean, in Counter-Strike, that would be like Scream. We had this, I think Nico played a show match with Scream in China recently, and he was like, he's not totally in form in the game. His aim looks pretty good, but there's so many other parts about the game that matter. But when it comes to mechanics, it's hard to say exactly. You could argue maybe Donk has a more high-risk playstyle technically because he moves a little faster and he takes way more opening kills. So the frags that he does get proves that his aim is actually maybe even better than it looks. But in terms of mechanics, he like kyousuke looks like almost somehow more reliable. It feels like Donk is just gonna like can't last forever, but he is. So I don't know when that ends. The scene's been very confusing in a very exciting way for the last year.
And by the way, look, we won't belabor it because apparently it was like kyousuke himself who chose Falcons over Spirit. But yeah, if you are a Spirit fan, this is a bomber to hear. But I can tell you from watching the POVs of kyousuke, they definitely could have coexisted, in my opinion, as you will now see in Falcons. Like, so sadly, you could have had Donk and kyousuke in the same team, and I can't even, I won't even let myself do it. I can't even imagine how insane that would have been. I actually think that would have just been game over, bro. But it's all good. They kept the parity of the scene. It's all good. We're all good.
Yeah, I mean, so only time will tell if Falcons keep Tessus, but they obviously have such a big, practically infinite amount of resource that they could upgrade their player there. And you can be like Falcons too. You can upgrade your keyboard, okay? You can start counter-strafing like kyousuke if you want to, because I'm going to remind everybody, we are sponsored by Wooting, who has been gracious enough to give us a promo code. So if you buy a keyboard from their site, they will give you a free uwu, this thing right here, if you can see on the screen. Little macro right here. It's got 6 buttons, good for being kind of like a Stream Deck substitute. If you want to play rhythm games, it's got all of the technology of a Wooting keyboard, but in such a cute little package. So get your own uwu, and also just get the best technology on the market, okay? Just being completely honest. Wooting, they're doing stuff that nobody else is doing when it comes to the sensors that they have, the adjustable actuation, where you can really actually make it exactly where you want it to be, and also the rapid trigger feature. It's as close to snap tap as it gets, guys, okay? As soon as you release the key, it will actually turn the key off. Not like snap tap, which will unpress it for you, but it'll release it when you start releasing it. So get a competitive advantage, get a Wooting keyboard.
Wooting's kind of like Donk. When it was Katowice last year, everyone started copying his settings and tried to be like him. Same thing with Wooting. Every other keyboard company started busting out the same technology. They are the best.
Now, Launders, I referred to it earlier. So this is what in the stand-up comedy world is called a callback, where you refer back to something you established earlier. So you know what, Launders? You famously came on an episode of Snake and Banter and not only made a good point, but you actually were mildly iconic, because what did everyone say for years after that about all the NiP players, Brolan? So they said your time in NiP does not count. But you know what, Launders? I think finally, touch wood, look carefully around to make sure there's no fucking, there's no whatever that guy, Jonas Gundersson's in the bushes lurking. I think we're safe. Now your time in NiP can actually count, because NiP actually looks good. Bro, this roster, this one where they finally added Kaspersky instead of Aristosy, this actually looks like it's it, boys. Like, this roster, as in just this 5-man lineup, actually looks like, for real, it will be a top 10. It can contend to be a top 10 team. It can get into like 10th, 9th, 8th. They actually already look good, even in the game they lost against Aurora, which admittedly was Aurora without Xantares, which isn't really Aurora, and sure, Anubis has got, there's a million factors, very, very close. I actually think from the first matches I watched them from the whole way through the plane, bro, this team actually, like, obviously I have biases. I like Snappy. I think Shush is like underrated player. I do also think Wrinkle. The thing with Wrinkle is this, guys. He doesn't have like the insane stats every game of like a massive superstar. But if you ever watch his style of play, there's something about this guy. He has like some fucking magic to his game, you know. So I actually think this roster's pretty good now. Like, I was never a big Aristose believer anyway. For me, Ujux was always easily the best player in those Saw players. I just figured they just wanted to pick up 2 players, and obviously this guy had been like benched and all that drama last year, so that one was fine to remove. I think Kaspersky, I only saw him obviously at Elisa Masters online and a little bit online with Ents. He looked like he's good. He has crispy aim. So I actually think this is the roster to redeem like Snappy's name. People like Shush still get to be relevant. I actually think people like Wrinkle and the Kaspersky, they could be stars in this game. I actually think this is a fucking cool roster. So after all those years of like, you know, whack rosters or ones where it just looks like they're throwing 5 names together, or are they still, you know, are they still daring to imply they're going to go back to Sweden? There's no Swedish players in the team now. You don't even have to worry about that weird angle of like, are they going to quickly pivot back to being Swedish? So now I actually think, Launders, your time on NiP should count from now on, because it actually looks like they could be decent. What do you think?
I am down to start the timer. I didn't want to be the one to do it myself because that's a big risk. So I'm happy to let you run it. I think if
I like the way you're making it sound like there's an atomic clock, and it's like when it reaches 12, finally your time counts again. Okay, right, okay.
Yeah, I am a little bit scared, you know, because it's been so much time where it didn't count, but maybe it has to eventually. And I think if you the most generous thing I can say about them is they have comparable quality and composition to G2 right now, where I think you're getting a lot of players who can all play a lot better, and they can complement each other, and then they have the right IGL. So they built like a very Saw-esque roster with, I'm sure, the help of Snappy. They've, you know, Wrinkle was that Ukrainian opper who was extremely good, who might have lost his career on the wrong lineup because Snappy was there and he's committed to try to make the team better. They've survived a lot. I mean, I thought they were going to get lost in VRS, but they made their way up. They've actually succeeded at Cologne. It was obviously clear that someone like Snappy was going to be able to, if he got the chance, to play well versus tier 2 and tier 1 teams. But if you spend too much time in the CCTs and everything, then you just don't get enough points to try. So I want to give him credit. I think my main criticism for Snappy actually is an emotional one. I feel like he had a lot of disdain for CS2. And if you're going to play the game, I feel like you have to find a way to make it work because everyone else is.
Sure.
And, you know, you can have your complaints and want things to change, but you're also actively competing every day. And I couldn't see the enjoyment when I hear him talk about the game ever. So I was a little bit like, okay, well, how good's his team going to be then? But the results are showing that they're actually a good roster.
Kaspersky is just so much more reliable than Aristose was on this roster. Aristose was a liability so frequently. So last season, it felt like you give them enough time, they'll break into the top 20, start getting some VRS invites. But getting that time and actually making a very proactive roster move in the offseason has definitely upgraded them. This guy, Kaspersky, I mean, he can just be a game changer. He can find 3 kills, maybe in like a mid-late round situation, and nobody else on the team is even going to do that because he can just be so quick with just getting kill to kill to kill. And honestly, I don't know what was wrong with Aristose. I don't know if it was a language thing or what, but I never saw even a shred of what he had in the past when he was playing with Snappy, with NiP. And so hopefully he gets a better situation around him. But yeah, no, I think every player now, having seen a bit of them so far at the play-in, is capable in position. And maybe they don't have the highs of a team like G2, which you compared them to, but I would almost even say that some of them play better team CS overall. Like I'm taking Heavy God over Shush today for sure, but I never sold my Shush stock. I still know that he's incredibly capable at playing in a variety of system strategies, not being a losing condition on a round, and making sure that even if the team is gambling somewhere, he's going to be the safe guy on the other side of the map that's just going to make sure that he either stays alive or just gets his one and peels off. I'm pretty excited about them, but it's tough because I just still feel like they're on the cusp of invites. I'm not sure if they push through into that point where they're going to be getting invites to everything so far. Sure. But they definitely have the potential to be doing it. And with the victories that they found already versus Heroic and 3D Max, I would almost just say they should. So if VRS hasn't put them up there yet, they've shown the ability to do it so far. I'm just being cautious only because this system is just such a slog to get through and to try to actually punch up it through.
Sure.
Oh man. Yeah, when I think about VR, like when I see them at 20, I'm like, that's actually remarkable considering where they were like
that's awesome,
8 months ago.
Yeah, they were playing a million
Genuinely, like
tournaments.
I don't know what it's like to be a pro player on a team at a rank 100 when I was in the top 5. I don't know what that feels like, but I could just imagine like you just are like depressed and hopeless at some point. You're just like the climb is too big. There's too much randomness. There's literally throwing and cheating in tier 2. You don't know what kind of game you're going to get. Like we could very easily fail and not be our fault at all. So the fact that they still have made it to top 20, I feel like that's almost as impressive as going from like 20 to 10. Just it's a lot worse teams, but a lot more RNG. So
you have to realize in Snappy's career, between this team and then fucking that shenanigans with Ents when he had to try and get into the blast partner system when he wasn't a blast partner, like everyone else in tier 1 just wakes up and they're in the tournament like, what time's the first match? Snappy to get into any of these tournaments is like that fucking scene in John Wick where it's shot like really high up from third POV. He has to fight like 700 fucking goons just to like enter match one of the tournament and has to stay alive through all those. It's fucking mad, isn't it? He just has the cursed career. I don't know what it is with this guy's career. It's cursed, mate. Then again, though, at the same time, just like the thing about Tessus, he did get a giant bag of filthy, dirty Saudi money. So you know what? The tear's gone back in. It's actually reversed into the tear duct. Oh well, you know, fucking just deal with it, innit? You've got fucking more money than God, mate. So you know, now grind. Good, now grind. This is it. I'm in. I'm in for the grind. Should we move on? That's a pretty succinct one, but we can move on. That's all good. Right.
That was a good show.
What is your bad point going to be, Launders?
Okay, my bad point is going to be that although we have some of the most promising and impressive and exciting players to watch with the academy players and all these new people, we have some of the weakest personalities in any era of Counter-Strike, in my opinion. We have some of the most boring interviews. We have some of the most hated winners in terms of who you dread seeing pick up that trophy when they go.
Look, you don't have to name names, but can you hint? Can you give us like a hint as to you might be thinking of just a ballpark?
I mean, I'm going to get to it.
Oh, right, he's going to name some names. Fair play. Okay, then. Okay.
Oh yeah, 100%. First and last. Donk, and I don't know their last names. Donk and Magix, for example, when we had Spirit, you know, winning Shanghai, there was a part of that where everyone was like, oh god, like you want them to win because Donk is such an exciting player to watch, but you just don't want to spoil it by seeing the interview afterwards, and it's like, I just want to get McDonald's after. I don't care what happens, you know. And a lot of this is also because I've heard Shiro is hilarious in Russian, but in English you don't get that. You know, I've heard people love him and his personality, and that's going to be a part of it. But like Dunk, you know, from StarCraft, for example, when another region is dominant, there's always going to be something lost when it comes to the interviews. Yeah, for sure. Like, you know, we had Smix in StarCraft who could just live translate everything and there was no problem. But in Counter-Strike, it's kind of like you either just get the same player, like you Mongols, you'll almost never get Blitz. You're probably going to get Mzinho. The English is probably going to be comparably like subpar, and you just have to sort of hope something funny comes out of it. And it's, again, not that they're not full of personality or not funny. It's just that if for the English-speaking world watching the interviews, it's just not going to be as entertaining sometimes. I think some of the best examples are the older players. I think even as like we go to like Major on Aurora, I think he gives a funny interview here and there. Apex is good, whether it's the interviews or the games. I think one thing that was really illuminating was seeing like Maus, because like everyone's hating on Maus for being auraless, right? And I hate that fucking word. It's so annoying to be able to have to talk about it all the time. There is something to it though, you know, when it comes to like how it feels, how excited you are for someone, like how much that person makes you feel. And I think when Torzy cried at the end of the major, that was the first time you got something where you realized you just want them to take it seriously, right? You just want them to show they care. You just don't want to see them laughing or hiding their emotions. You want to see them like really send it or cry, you know, at the interview. And Torzy got that. And I think he won some fans that way. And that was a nice glimpse into like what it means to actually have aura, because it's not just showing up and being the coolest guy. Because you look at Kerrigan, people say he has the most aura. He's always been a goofball, right? But he's also been open and emotional on sort of every stage of it. Same with players like Cadian. Same with players like, you know, and funny players in the past. There's been everyone from Snacks, and even though I had criticism of him recently in interviews, Snacks is hilarious. We've even had like tier 2 players like Jerry be hilarious interviews. Taco from past SK and Luminosity days. He was hilarious. All the Liquid and Cloud9 players, there was tons of personality there. Zeus from Navi, there was tons of personality.
Yeah.
All the Fnatic players were
Some would say too much personality, but,
too much a little bit sometimes. GT, Get Right was like the original star of this game, and he was like the Cologne photo of him crying and with all the confetti around. You just don't have that as much anymore. And so as good as and fun as these rookies are to watch, and as much as I hate the fact that they can try so hard, accomplish such amazing things like winning majors, winning tier 1 events, and then still get hated on for being uncool, the fact is they don't have as much personality as the players we grew up with, I would say.
Players have just gotten so terrified of getting clowned for saying something or showing something, and social media is just, it's so vicious to these guys. So we've been all broadcast talent, been subject to numerous threads and comment sections that are saying mean shit about us, but it's sort of what we signed up for. A lot of us knew that going into this, that's how people judge talent, by just writing crazy comments and whatever, and it's just kind of part of the media cycle for us. But some of these players, it really does feel like just wanted to be great at CS and keep gaming all day, and almost became pro by virtue of the space becoming mainstream enough that enough people watch it to get them to the point that they're making these massive inflated salaries, and they kind of want to just push that to the side and just play Counter-Strike. But I'm not feeling sorry for them that they're making enough money in most of their countries to live 3 lifetimes by the time they're 30 years old. So my final advice for them is really just be yourself. And you could also just transition, if you're actually charismatic enough, to something like JL, who unfortunately seeing the one, and that's why it's sad. We got 2 benchings of guys that actually were a bit more charismatic in this offseason in JL and Magix. And yeah, Magix, I mean, it was hit or miss in the post-game interview. Sometimes you got absolutely nothing.
He was better when he was on the desk. If he came on the desk is when he would give us, our show. I agree. Because I've heard the same thing, Maui. Some people always flame Magix, but every time, when he came on our show, when he came on that desk, I thought he was bagging. He did a really good job.
Yeah.
When you feigned ignorance about when you made that comment, whatever it is.
That was because he said, you said on Twitter this about Holly, and I never tweeted about Holly, so my brain couldn't connect one to two.
Where's the thing? What's important, Maui, and this is really important, is even though he spiritually was absolutely correct, you were technically correct, and you did gotcha someone in a second language. So you win, Maui. You win again. You get to trash talk, have your cake, and eat it, and make him look like a dickhead for being
per usual.
Wrong about his Twitter.
As per usual. Good. Maui's right again. Okay. It doesn't. The wins don't stop coming. Yeah, no. I mean, I just. It's sad that we've lost 2 guys like that, and instead we've got Zweih, who's. I'll talk about Zweih later.
Okay. Right, we'll save that. Put that on the shelf for now. Put that on the shelf. Okay. Yeah. By the way, I do agree. Like, first of all, the worst example ever is when they won the major. Because here's the thing, right? I can handle if it's just that, you have a smaller event. You don't think, like, a bet boom event. Who gives a fuck if you win that? Yeah, okay. You don't have to go crazy over that. You don't have to go crazy over even, getting to the stage of an arena. Not everyone has to do that. Look, I can't be a hypocrite about this. I used to think people went too far back in the day where when they were like the random teams, the Vegas squadrons of the world, and they would just qualify to a major, they were jumping around like they just won their 4th major in a row and made like a dynasty or something. And I used to think, bro, you might not even win a match at the tournament. You can go too far with it. But I know what you mean, because, like, for example, what I found really fucking jarring about Spirit winning the major is when Donk won and just didn't give a fuck. I almost wanted to be like, give that back. Turn the fucking difficulty settings up on the game. This doesn't count. Like, you don't get to just say it doesn't matter that you win the. Like, I'm thinking about all the people, Launders, who either haven't won a major, like the Nikos and the Guardians, who actually, by the way, that would be unironically the most fulfilling moment of their life if they actually won, and would give them all that validation for all the years of hard work. But then you even think about people, it's not that they weren't winners. People like Zeus. Bro, he got super emotional when he won. He thought he'd never win after he kicked out a Na'Vi. Like, these are the angles. Fucking Apex when he won as an IGL and everyone told me he wouldn't, and he was a fucking brain dead entry fragger and he told everyone fuck you and all. Those moments are almost more iconic than the match that they won. Like, you'd struggle to remember a lot of details, but you can always remember that fucking post-game segment like that. So, no, I'm with you. Like, it just makes it feel like, it's like, by the way, you could even make it if you were Donk, like part of your swag, that like, I'm like the guy who's like the Terminator, you know, I don't give off any emotion. But you've got to almost make that part of like the explicit thing of like, you know, you never react and you're just the Iceman or so. You could do that too. Because I actually think I have an angle here. Oh, and by the way, as well, I also agree. It sounds mad, but if you can't do like a really charismatic, amazing thing when you win, you could also just show a lot of emotion. Because I agree, by the way, the Torji one, that got to everyone. I think everyone felt for him. By the way, I actually think the most emotional moment of the Shanghai final is that fucking picture. It actually hurts to even look at it now. Have you ever seen the one of Carrigan when he's thinking about like presumably his like family situation and the fact that if he'd won he was going to like big up? Mate, that one breaks you. It's a really harsh photo. If you've never seen, guys, it might be the most painful CS picture ever. He looks actually distraught, mate, like destroyed completely. So that one, same thing, right? If you're in Mouse, the playbook is there now. Like, here's what I want: exertion. Don't lose in the big playoffs of a prestige event and don't quite turn up like Thorin says you will, and then, you know, you're not quite as good as do the right. Look, you're going to do that part. That goes out saying. I'm saying once you do that, here's what you do differently. Don't just go, oh, well, guess I'll just quickly exit stage left. No, go and do the interview. And what I want to see is, I want you to do that emotion where, you know, where like, the person's so sad, they almost like have to, they can't even like regulate crying and breathing. They're like, the saying in English is, it's like a dog eating hot chips. They're just, imagine him just, imagine, you guys said I'd never make, fuck you, Shu here. You said in that practice, I was saying, that's what I said out loud. Mate, if you did that, we'd all be in. We'd all be like, oh, I'm obsessed now. I can't wait for this guy to win. Like, fuck, everything's about, get the calendar out. When's the next big tournament? He's going to win it. I believe in him. You know what, Georgie? Yeah, you know what? He is the fucking little hobbit that could, little Samwise Gamgee motherfucker. He could help me. He can't be the one who carries the ring. That has to be Exertion's task. But he can help carry Exertion, and Exertion can carry the ring. That's what we need. If we have these storylines, I believe, because I have an angle to tie into, Launders, which is what you referenced earlier. What this reminds me of, especially with these Eastern Europeans who have the second language barrier, and they have this weird thing where, I think part of them is, by the way, like you say, just culture doesn't come through. Like the joke is, people like Donk supposedly into all weird anime and shit. Like, Mitch, tell us that shit then. Tell us some weird thing that you think's funny. That can be its own weird angle. But I'll tell you what it reminds me of. It reminds me of when Koreans were the best in StarCraft, like you're saying. And the problem was, they didn't, here's what you might not get, guys. A lot of them, it wasn't actually that they were the faceless Korean and they had no personality. They didn't know how to translate it. In fact, some of them even thought, will it be considered rude if I trash talk a guy? So I'll tell you what you need to do, because if you've ever watched League of Legends, you'll know this exists already. In League of Legends, when they have the Korean League finals, what they do is they do a segment before the finals, Lord, in like the media day with both teams, and they actually tell them explicitly, this is a trash talk segment. And they actually, like, you can tell the producer off camera, like behind it, is encouraging the guy with a list of stuff, like, right. So what they tend to do is do position to position, like, you know, the mid laner versus faker, and then the AD carry versus it. And what they'll tend to do is ask them things like, if you know the guy, like, you know, playfully say you're going to trash him, or if, you know, if he's in your position, why not say you're going to be better than him after this tournament, or he was a champion before, you know, he's going to be second place this time. And because they sort of tell them that and egg them on, but everyone watching this and participating knows it's essentially like a safe space. If people don't know, by the way, this is actually how I created the show Hot Take Point Made. I did this for analysts. I wanted to have a show where it was expressly that you're coming up with crazy hot takes, because that way, no matter how crazy the take is, you can always go, yeah, but it was from a hot take. Like, it's a difference. If Maui does a take on Snake and Banter, that just has to stand on its own two legs. If it's on Hot Take Point Made, part of you knows, like, one, that might not even be him who said it, and then two, we're trying to make them sexy as possible. Like, if you've ever seen, some of the best takes are the ones where actually you haven't gone far enough. Like, I'll be like, they'll make the quarters, and then Kashan's like, well, it's nothing. Oh, because they'll be in the final then, all right. Like, even I don't think that, but I guess, all right, tell you what, ratchet the Schofield meter up. So I actually think we could do that. For real, I think we could get these players, either Team Orcs could do this, or TOs like ESL and Blast, etc. Make a segment where it's called, like, you know, talking shit or something like, obviously don't call it that, but something akin to that. And then the idea is you just encourage them and you get all the best clips. But because you do it this way, look, nutters are going to say what they're going to say on Twitter anyway. But I do think you could get a little bit more out of players. Once they understood it was sort of like a game, like, because you'll know this, Maui, when you start doing Hot Take Point Made, part of you thinks, how am I even going to think up takes every week? Eventually it just becomes like formulaic. You just realise, like, oh, because I'm just having fun with it anyway, I could always generate a take. In fact, the joke is half the takes we generate while the other person's saying one, we just think of a better one to tag onto that, like a fucking battle rap or something, you know. So I think we could actually fix this literally directly in the scene. You just have to encourage people to do it.
And it also doesn't have to be like vitriolic with everybody.
No,
like
of
there's
course
G,
not.
for example, from Tai Lu. And I want to say shout out to the guys who are speaking a second language and aren't
For sure.
afraid to try to bring their personalities through. You know, we got so many moments from G at the major, which were just like fun to watch. Or like on Lin Vision, like just being able to see, you know, Amelia is always himself, just being himself, you know, and shows how much he cares. You learn a little bit about his backstory. You're invested, you know, you really care if they win or lose. That's what is really driving all the fandom. So if you are a pro, like, I just remember that. I mean, also, you know, there's a lot to say about Cadian.
Another person we do miss, by the way.
A lot of enemies.
There's another person
but
we
like,
need.
Yeah, one of the biggest risks ever taken was Cadian, emotionally, was Cadian making that video after Flashpoint saying, I don't know what I'm going to do next. That could have been the very bottom. And everybody, when they make it, they always wish that they were honest when they were at the bottom so that they could enjoy it the most when they get to the top. And if you really believe you're going to be that player one day, then start documenting that now. Start telling people exactly how you feel. Don't do the pretend thing like you knew you were always going to make it, like you're going to be good one day, like it's all going to work out. Don't do that because no one's going to care about your story then.
No, I agree. I do just think it's something that we can just level up so much if people just start doing this. Like, people will start to get into it if you do it. I also do think as well, put it this way, I'll tell you one last thing to say is this. You have to also understand, it's hard to grasp because it feels unfair, but in a weird way, people sort of being shitty and writing stupid shit on websites is also sort of part of the sport that we're in, I'm afraid. It's a bit like UFC. You can't say in UFC, sometimes they do try to flex towards it, you know, martial culture and respect for the opponent. No, I'm sorry. Half of the UFC is that when you get knocked out, a 13-year-old kid messages you like, lol, you got starched, you little bitch. Now, yeah, in real life, obviously that'd be insane, wouldn't it? But that's just the nature of the internet. Like, sorry, that is just what happens. Yeah. And sadly, we even need that fucking idiot to be involved in the sport. So I do, because I'm pretty sure Launders, this is where I'm not like the rest of y'all out there, North Americans, y'all. Technically, my language you abuse to do it with. Stop appropriating my language. It's called American now. It's okay. But no, the one part that I actually don't buy is, you know, you guys all do that thing where you do the interview and you go, oh, guys, you know, you don't have to put one of my fellow broadcast talent down to raise me up. I always go, do it. Mate, if I see a thread, Launders, I'm not a liar. I'm a radical truth teller. If I see a thread and it goes, the blast analysts suck. One, I'm going to go, I think I'll be opening that tab. And two, I'm already hoping I see certain names mentioned, mate. And if they ever do that thing, Launders, where they go, you know, talent announcement for the next event, and they go, why are they hired? We'll pick anyone, Pimp, Doss. Why they hired him? They should hire Thorin. I go, you're not wrong. Listen, it's like the Anthony Mackie thing. He's out of line, but he's not wrong. It's like that.
It's just Maui who doesn't agree, and he might disagree with that too.
Wait, what?
I think everyone should be entitled to their opinion. I think everyone should just tell the truth all the time, and if people want to talk shit, they can. I remember I watched, like, what was that movie? It was like it was sort of like it was about like an assassin with Michael Fassbender recently.
Oh, The Killer.
It came out. The Killer. And I didn't like it. And I tweeted Michael Assbender and I said all the shit about him or whatever. And it was just my opinion. And I remember thinking, like, I'm kind of at the size where he might actually see that tweet. And you know what? Like, I kind of said it.
I like the idea it hurt his feelings seeing that.
Like, I didn't think he would ever see it or care. You know, it was like one person added him or whatever because he thought it was funny. And I was like, okay, yeah, but you know what? I should be allowed to say that. And if he wanted to say something about me, so should he. Like, everyone should be allowed to say
I know you're saying that, so he's going to, like, quote retweet, like, I've always thought Sponge was better anyway. Fuck Launders. Like,
yeah, like, if he wanted to dunk on me in that tweet or something like that, like, everyone, it's fair game. And I think it's doing good for everyone. It's more fun that way. It's like, I don't know. I think even the worst opinion should be out there. That's how I feel.
Some people just take themselves too seriously.
Yeah.
Though. If you come out with that sort of take, then someone will soft block you.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
By the way, speaking of, because these pros do need to listen up, don't they? Well, we could help them out in that sense. Because do you know what? We've had this product many times before. But you know Raycon earbuds, everyday earbuds. There's new ones. The new everyday earbuds classic. What's great is they even on the back have all this stuff in different languages. They go pack light, jam hard. Obviously, Tyloo fans say they know what's going on. They know the score, mate. And also, I do think actually these are mega. Like, if people don't know, I was never ever a fan of small earbud things. I'm the guy. Now, it wasn't cool when I was doing it. Yeah, that's right, Zoomers. You all do it when it's cool now. I do things when it's uncool. I used to be the guy who wore these when I was on a train 15 years ago when that wasn't cool. When you were the loser, then you did that. But I didn't try the in-ears because I was really worried that like they just weren't fucking good quality. And then how could the wireless ones be any good? All the things you always think when tech in England changes. These are actually mega, I have to say. They're really, really good. They also crucially have the active noise cancellation, which obviously is mega when you're out and about. You don't actually have to have big headsets for that. I have to say that's also a tech that they've also mastered on in-ears, stuff like this as well. They've got it really good so the seal feels nice on your ear. It doesn't have any sound leak, etc. They also come with 8 hours of playtime and a 32-hour battery. So basically, you can just be wearing them pretty much all the time. It's super easy to charge. They, as usual, there's loads and loads of different brands out there of all different price points. They've done a really good job on these, in my opinion, of min-maxing the price, so it's not crazy, but the quality is still really good. It's actually in the sweet spot that you want it to be. And it's not super cheap and it's crap quality. It's not super expensive and it's insane quality, but then over the top. They've actually, as everyone in CS knows, it's all about being economically efficient. Certain teams maybe don't understand that concept, but the real teams that play CS2 understand that premise, and you can be economically efficient with your Raycons, can't you? Also, as usual, they have different colours and all that. Looks, I'm boring. I just get the black ones. I don't give a flying fuck in that sense. So you can go to buyraycon.com/snake, easy to remember here, and this time it is 20% off the fan favourite Everyday Earbuds Classic. Right now, Raycon is offering 20% off their Everyday Earbuds Classic. That is buyraycon.com/snake to get 20% off. And also, by the way, they're free shipping on every pair of Raycon earbuds. So thank you to Raycon. Thank you to everyone who buys them and gets 20% off. Right, let's keep going, boys. So, moving along now, it is Maui's bad point.
I'm actually changing mine just because
That's okay.
I saw an interview that just came out, and it kind of reiterates a point I made in the past, but it's something that now I pin it down to a player who is going to lose out on a big opportunity here. I think Rez has been playing some of the best CS of his career. He's having this crazy resurgence, but he's not sniffing top 20 this year. He probably even deserves it as an individual if he was on a better team.
If people want to know what you're referring to, this is the Ash interview on hltv.org that you're referring to, right? Yeah. So one that says, the headline is, it feels like we're losing off the server in these key situations, because someone wants to look up. Keep going.
Yeah, exactly. And so I find this twofold, maybe even threefold, to be frustrating here. The first of which is a point I've made in the past about how if Ash had an opportunity to go Liquid or G2 and he decided, I just want to stick around with GamerLegion, then I just feel like he made such a bad move for his career that he's never going to actually touch greatness, because these are the pieces you're working with. And if it's down to, the players are inexperienced, it's like, this is going to be the perpetual cycle of being the coach of GamerLegion. This is what it will always be. When are you ever going to have a group of vets who have really been hardened through these situations and really just tested their mettle against the best teams in the world on big stages? Like, that's not happening. Like, you're going to keep getting poached. You're going to keep losing out on your best pieces, and you're going to keep having to use rookies who are consistently going to have mental mistakes that are also going to probably bring them down, along with their inexperience in the server too. So, but I've talked about Ash in the past and how I don't see how his career can really keep going. Like, the PR that we have now assembled for him, because he started a really great YouTube channel, is kind of running its course. And for Rez in particular, this was a chance for him, because I made my top 20 list about a few weeks ago, and Rez was actually like 21 or 22, maybe 23. He was right on the cusp, but I couldn't include him because he didn't play the major and he didn't go deep at Katowice. Now they are essentially finishing last place at Cologne, sure, through stage 1, but really they didn't beat anybody. They now lose to 3D Max here. And now for me, that's 3 of the biggest 4 events of the year where Rez has he's done nothing. He's done nothing at them. So he has no chance to be a top 20 player this year. And I also kind of bring this up because when I was assembling the list, Ash was in my chat saying, you got to put Rez on your list. And I'm like, right, I definitely can't now. I definitely can't put him on.
Yeah, I'll just say I 100% agree with you, man, on like Ash. And I almost hate criticizing a guy like him, because I feel I kind of feel what he feels maybe, where he's just very loyal, it seems like, and that's the kind of guy where if he randomly got onto the right team and he could stick through it, like Big Uzera with Payne, for example, it works out in the end. The lineup comes in around him. But at the moment, they are just mouse sports a few years ago where they're going to sell every good player that comes out of this team. And so his job is infinitely difficult. Like, how are you ever going to have a roster that actually wins instead of just impresses other rosters to buy from you? That doesn't, like, that's not, like, it's like when we see Yakinder, so good at interviews, right? But the irony of that is that the better he is at interviews, if his form is down, that just creates so much hate, right? Because you're just like, holy shit, like, stop talking and start winning. And for ashhh, there's so many good things to say about him as a person, him as a YouTuber, him as a coach, to be honest, inside of games with the pieces that he has, but 0 wins. And it's not getting any more impressive every single time. So eventually, that's only going to create more derision, I think. It's only going to make people sort of upset at the thought that, why is he getting so much credit when all these other coaches are out here winning? And it could be his fault if he didn't want to make that move when he had the chance.
No, by the way, I actually think...
Sorry, was this about ashhh or Rez?
It was technically...
It's a bit of...
Yeah, it was a bit of both, but it was obviously... It was initially because he said it was the idea that Rez can't be top 20 this year, probably, no matter how he plays now, because of the team and the search. By the way, I'll touch on both parts. One... this is where, though, we have created a monster, though, with Maui doing the hot take show, because now everything does become a hot take. Like, he could have just said, Launders, like, I think he's going to have a really hard next couple of years. Instead, he was like, because of this move, he will never touch greatness. Like, fucking hell, it's only been around like 2 years. So, Jesus, like, you're doing that thing like Nico will never win the major. Like, fucking hell, like, bloody, give him a break. But I agree, though, sadly, because it is essentially what you've discovered, Maui. And I'll tell you the obvious contrast to this that people aren't going to like, because everyone is going to think I'm talking about the results. This is why, I'll tell you right now, when I talked to Snappy, someone I would consider an acquaintance, someone I can talk to about the game privately, when I talked to him and he was weighing up, should I do which of these moves? Basically, he said he was never really going to go and do the heroic one where they all go to heroic, which was an offer they had. He said, basically, I have 2 moves, because I think it's what ashhh's dilemma was. I either just stay in Ents, and by the way, at the time, they even had an amazing offer, I can tell you, where they were going to get their sponsors to, like, match the initial, like, some of the offer of the Falcons initially. Like, we'll get you the similar salaries, etc., because obviously they wouldn't be paying a buyout, so you can sort of make it work, right? But the downside there is obviously if anything goes wrong, like let's say one player gets poached, you're right back in a tough spot again, aren't you? You're still on Ents, mate, not Falcons. You're not on a team that's $1 bazillion to spend. Or you say, right, I want the chance to essentially have the max resources at my disposal, which didn't end up happening, sadly, and have the Nicos of the world, and you go to Falcons, which is what Snappy's choice was. In this case, ashhh, who admittedly is a lot younger in his career, I think the reason Snappy did that move, by the way, is because that was his last chance saloon. It was like his last chance to actually get a giant offer and get like an eco and think you're going to have a roster built that'll win the world champion. So you're kind of thinking, right, that'll be the last chapter of my career. I think, sadly, ashhh thinks he's just got loads more chapters, but I agree. You never know when that hype around you from the public and from fans will just turn. By the way, if the results get bad enough, I can tell you they're brutal. Like, if you think about this, Kassad had this exact arc. When Kassad was the coach of Renegades, everyone loved him. Because one, he didn't do a lot of interviews, so he didn't give off the fucking Kassad cooties that make people get mad. And then two, he also was doing an amazing job. Remember, he had fucking...
Kassad 19.
He had fucking Liaz and Gratisfaction, like, punching above their weight in major playoffs. So everyone thought this guy was the shit at the time. If you'd have asked at the time a fan, they'd have told you, of course, he should be in like G2, Evil Geniuses, some bigger org, right? So I agree. First of all, you got to strike while the iron's hot. And then secondly, you actually nailed it there, mate. The biggest problem isn't even GamerLegion's lineup right now, because they've still got some good players. The problem is this. Because, first of all, it's even become a thing, funnily enough, like Snappy in Ents, that everyone knows you're really good at recruiting players and then putting them in their roles. Well, what will happen is, the same thing will happen that happened to Ents. People will treat you like a farm team, and the Sphinxes of the world will all just keep going to the other bigger team. And every time that happens, here's what sucks if you're the IGL or the coach who stays behind. You're so good, you might be able to find the next guy, but you're not ever allowed to miss. Because if you ever miss on that guy, that's like another 3 months or another season gone. Remember, the thing about the Falcons of the world is they are cheating. They can, obviously, in them economically, guys, they can just buy another player tomorrow if it doesn't work out. The real joke with the kyousuke is if he was actual shit, they could have gone, who cares, lol, we just buy the extra Kaspersky. You know what I mean? They could just keep going. If you're in the ashhh/the Ents position that Snappy was, you have to be right every time or suddenly everyone forgets about you. And I think that will have its toll eventually. And I also agree with the point you were making making there as well, Maui, which is, if anything, the fact that people keep nicking his players almost lets him hide behind the fact that, like, he is working with newer players all the time. Well, the problem with that is you're never going to get to your 10 out of 10 level of CS, are you? Like, you're never going to get to the highest level of what you might be able to see in a demo or what you want to do in the game, and that's going to get frustrating too. So I agree, and also for Rez, it just sucks because actually, if you look at the beginning of the year, he actually had a chance, not on some big name team where, like, he was not on G2 or something, bro. He had a chance on fucking GamerLegion to, like, turn his whole career arc around. And if he actually had even been 20th on the HLTV top 20 list, that would have been the ultimate fuck you and IP, wouldn't it? Like, me, I leave the org, I go to a tiny little org that's supposed to be way smaller with way lower resources, and I'm top 20 player in the world. Like, suck my dick at that point in time. What do you want? Like, yeah, I win that one. So I get why it's a bad point, not an ugly one. It's just a bad point. Yeah, it's sad. And also, if you watch this tournament, just like NiP, mate, listen, considering this team came last place, fucking hell, it's close though, bro. They're always so close. They just have a hard time closing out games because sadly they've got so many inexperienced players. I think there's a world this team could still be active and, like, competing for the playoff spot, mate. Oh, well.
He's kind of like Brad Pitt on Moneyball, I guess. You know, he's like,
exactly.
Like you said, like he can't miss at all, and everyone's doubting him, and the board's like, what are these moves? This is so stupid. It's like, well, you gave me $5 to make a team,
yes,
and I've made actually pretty good one, but only real CS fans can even appreciate that. But at the end of the day, what's it matter because like what people don't understand is, like, when players decide what team they're going to go to, the org actually matters. Like, if it, like, NiP making it to top 20 with VRS, even though they've not done a great job with their reputation, they're still a historic legacy team.
Yeah.
They might be able to get invites off of that. If ashhh got the chance to go to G2, even if they don't have Nico and Monacy, the org actually has a position where they could attract players because they know in the future this could be a winning team, or that they are really good at building, like, quality teams. But at the moment, attracting Rez was so impressive. But that's kind of the best player that you could get to move down to GamerLegion, right? That's why it was impressive. But who else is going to come over? Like, are you going to get someone like Spinks who took a risk and went to Maus? I don't think so. It's not even close, right? Maus had to be top 5 to attract someone like him, and that was already still a big risk for him because he's going from Vitality. So for ashhh to stay on this team, I mean, maybe they're amazing people and everything like that, but if they're going to keep selling all of his players, I don't think they're working in his favor. So it's a personal choice, but you never know how much time you have left. That's just sports.
Also, I would just say his job is going to get harder every year, because think about what the first point of the show was, Launders. Now even the big orgs know you can just take really good academy prospects and just put them in your team. So the problem is, I'll give you the obvious example to me that shows if you're ashhh, it's way harder. His job isn't what it used to be, which is look in tier 2 and tier 3. Is there a good player? Would he fit my team? Mate, he has to do all of that and get to them before anyone else knows they exist, because the second they know they exist, it becomes Jambo, and that's 700k. Mate, GamerLegion doesn't have 700k to buy players. Like, that means he can't even get the Jambos of the world. He has to get them before they're even that player, which is even fucking harder. And by the way, like with Fnatic, there's a lot of people who have specifically been recruited to do that job, to be the, like, weird scout who watches tier 3 games that none of the rest of us do. So that's also just going to get fucking harder as time goes on. It's going to get really tough, boys. It's
some secret war in the background between him and Saw, trying to find, like, Tanir and the next Tanir. You know what I mean? It's like,
no, by the way, the funny thing is, at least in CS, a lot of them are going off eye test and, you know, playing that team in online competition. I can tell you as a quick aside, without going into too big a thing, there's a thing in League of Legends, bro, where someone actually invented an analyzing tool that can, like, statistically judge how you play relative to, like, you know, the averages in your region when you play solo queue. And essentially, they've used this tool in League of Legends for real to scout, like, legit players, to the extent that there's even, like, a funny side story, which if anyone knows anything about League of Legends, you will now know how ridiculous this example is, which is a European coach, a guy called Jongbak from Netherlands, who I'm, like, mates with. He used to coach Fnatic and G2. He even used this analyzer like 2-3 years ago or something, right? And when he used it, he found this insane Korean player that was mega in the top lane, right? And he told all his players, European squad in LEC, we should get this guy, look at the fucking numbers on the analyzer, he's probably going to be really good. And sadly, this is because at the time this wasn't a thing to sign, like, you know, people off a fucking, almost like a bot telling you they're good. The players in his team who were Europeans went, nah, what would be the point? Just get this guy we know already, right? This is a real story. This is not a fit. that player was Zeus, the player who was in T1 and won the last 2 World Championships in League of Legends in Korea for T1. But the joke is, these players didn't have the vision, and he could have had that in his fucking LEC team, like 4 years ago, so before that guy ever would have been in T1 and won everything. So, no, like, this is actually the future. But I agree, though. Even though it's sad, because I should be like, well done, Ash, you've earned that long contract. It's like, yeah, you sort of signed your soul away there, mate. You are in purgatory. Every time you push the boulder almost to the top of the hill, you wake up the next morning, wait a minute, fucking massive boulder, I have to do that again. Meanwhile, Zonic's just going, my boulder doesn't go to the top. Can I just have a boulder that starts on the top? And in fact, a massive one. Like, exactly, it's a fucking different game, innit, mate? And then you have to play him and beat him. There you go. Well done.
But that is what makes him a Giga Chad, though, because the loyalty doesn't pay, right? You might as well just go for whoever gives you the best deal. So you have the best chance to win.
Yeah. I know Ash becomes the focal point of discussions about GamerLegion, but I've kind of gone into him before, and I'm just gonna remind people. I will say that it's just like I almost am just more disappointed for Rez, and also an aside PR. I mean, I just feel like both of these guys could definitely be top 20 players. They're
good skills.
Really good. Yeah.
Dude, of all players, are you saying that Rez has now joined 2 teams where his time doesn't count?
Okay.
Say it ain't so.
Yeah. Okay. Right,
Just
okay.
a stasis trap.
I will do it then, Maui. Even though, if people don't know, again, without breaking the fourth wall too much, I just essentially, you all go, points are all shit. I don't even get to have points. I have to sit, right? And then 1 second before the show goes, these guys just send me their points. Like, here's my 3 points now. I have to just on the fly come up with my points, make them good. And that means sometimes I even have to take one for the team. So this wasn't even my point, but since Maui chose not to do it, I will do it. Because I think it's an appropriate time to do this talk convo, which is, as a bad point, I'm not even going to do a special angle. Are you ready? It's 2 words. FaZe Clan. Oh, fuck. People know I am a massive homer for FaZe Clan. It's basically just Carrigan teams, let's be real. Like, if Carrigan leaves, by the way, magically I won't give as much of a fuck about FaZe Clan like I didn't when they just had Nico and cycling 5th legendary players that weren't any good. But as long as Carrigan is there, I will always care about this team, because I do think he is one of those rare players where if you give him, like, it's not even amazing pieces. I've never asked for the best bit. Just give him, like, good enough pieces and then let him go to work. That's all I ever want to see. I want you to have enough pieces where, you could cause an upset in the playoffs, or you could take the best team in the world to 3 maps. I don't even need you to be the actual number 1 team. You could be like the 6th best team. Just give me a few pieces. The problem is, I feel like not only do they not have that, but if you are a FaZe fan now, what copium are you even finding? What possible angle do you have in your brain that lets you believe this season can be fruitful? Because as things stand right now, it looks like they're not getting simple. In fact, even worse, all the messaging is, get ready for Brokey next season. Like, we have to just pretend we're all hyped for that. And by the way, I'm not even going to totally hate on Brokey. I actually do think he got done mildly dirty in that when everyone else took their turns to shit the bed last year, there was still a good enough team. No one got kicked. And then the second the team went really bad this year was when he was doing his worst ever period. And you had to kick him because on paper it was just the obvious person to kick. So I think they're in such a tough spot. And I have to say, guys, I'll just throw this out there in case people don't follow the map pool like I do. The worst news of all is this, boys. They were clearly at that last major trying to make Anubis their map. Like, that was the pivot, and then Valve's removed Anubis. So I actually genuinely, this one has to be bad. I can't even go ugly on this one. I don't know what reason anyone has to believe in FaZe. I don't even really believe they believe in themselves, mate. I think they're pros. You turn up, you do what you can. You have to deal with what you've got at the moment. But I feel like all the hype's just drained from this team, which is mad, because 1 second before that quarterfinal at the major, everything seemed possible, bro. They were going to be in the final. Holy shit, we're going to get zweih versus Simple in a major fight. Oh my god, then Simple's going to join. And then they might have, and then all of a sudden we've just like put the genie all the way back in the bottle. It's just fucking back on the shelf, and it's just FaZe Clan. And I would struggle to find a time. You'd have to go back like 3-4 years where it was this like what is there to hope for? Launders, what is there to hope for with FaZe Clan, mate?
I think what's nice is that Brokey looks like he's doing his fit
it's better.
Of the work.
It's better.
He's looking good. He clearly looks like he had some sort of like, he didn't just take time off and then come back.
Okay.
He's like, he was reading and lifting weights on the break. You know what I mean? Like he did.
I like the way you do make it sound like he was in prison.
Say.
Like, you know, the shit where they come out with all swole. Like, yeah, I've been reading a lot of like
bald,
Marcus Aurelius and fucking benching. Like,
exactly, yeah. He needed the time off. It looks like it worked, and his aim and his plays were there. He got some good clutch rounds and everything like that. What unfortunately this illuminated for me was that maybe Kerrigan's not doing that great of a job actually. And this is my first time in a long time pointing at him specifically. And I think that like in terms of calling, like I used to always say this thing when I casted where his round 28 call was like the golden move for FaZe. I was like, one of the things I always looked forward to when I was casting the games, if he played an entire T half and from a comeback, you got to like round 28, round 29, he could call one of the best, a Canada call or something like that. And you just don't get it anymore. You just don't get it. I mean, even when they get close, I just don't feel like he's able to. I don't know if he's able to or if he's not able to or what the problem is, but it's not happening anymore. And I think that would be the single reason I believe that FaZe couldn't come back if that doesn't happen, because for like the last however many years since 2017 or whatever, since before he got cut again, like that was the most important thing for FaZe. Like almost no matter who played with them, you could always count on Kerrigan to make the most of their pieces. That's why he's won so much with stand-ins. That's why he's won for such a long time. And so, that's why you said if he leaves, even though Brokey and Rain are just as much FaZe as he is, if he leaves, they are no longer FaZe. They are something else now. And so even if he's there, but he's not calling as well, I think that's the same thing. So I think that is really sad.
We just need to have that uncomfortable conversation regarding Kerrigan, at least going into this season so far, because what he's showing right now, if I see him in a gunfight that's obviously shaping up, I see the X-ray, see the radar, this is about to take place, I would live bet, if I could, day rate salaries that he is going to be losing all of those gunfights. I
like the way you're trying to do the CS.
If he goes negative, you are going to make a lot of money.
He's basically trying to do the CS hater version of that thing where those guys kept betting on Angel Reese to miss her first layup, and she kept doing it like over and over again. And they were like winning too much. They got banned from doing it. So like, you're doing your version of that. Okay, I see it. The knee barrel.
Yeah, no, I also have, and unfortunately to tie into that, I have the same feeling about their T sides now. When I was watching them play Navi on Nuke, I almost was ready to just turn it off. I was like, okay, that's not good enough.
Which, by the way, if people don't know, at the major they had one of the higher T win rate percentages, believe it or not. FaZe actually did.
Yeah, but for
they're terrible
what I've
now,
seen,
they're terrible now, mate.
In the brief amount that we've gotten so far of this season, this T side is horrendous. I mean, they got
actually
zero
had that
rounds.
though because of Simple. They had that because of Simple.
Yeah, they did in some part. Yeah,
he was really good on T side.
It definitely boosted him, but I also just feel Rain in these positions is not living up to what he needs to be even an asset on this roster. If you're not gonna, and I kind of agree actually. If Kerrigan's off of this, FaZe changes completely. I don't even know what to make of them at that point. I don't know if they're gonna retain the social cachet and fandom that makes them who they are, but you have to do something. You have to do something, and I don't know if sitting on your hands and waiting for the offseason to get Simple for Brokey is even a big enough upgrade versus something like I would have just said just get PR for Rain, okay? If you want to actually just poach again, punching down to GamerLegion here, just take PR. He's playing a lot of the spots that Rain is playing now. He's really just such an upgrade in terms of lurking, in terms of consistency, and playing within a team. I feel like all of those right now, he's such a great up and comer. Pretty cool personality too, just pretty calm. Every now and then lets out a little bit of what he's got behind the scenes. Like I found out PR actually stood for Pringles, and he changed the name because he just couldn't go into being a pro player with the name Pringles. So there's ways you can build him up. You can build him up eventually, but it'll take a while.
Tell you what, that
sounds like a pet name that his sugar daddy gave him or something.
Mate, I was going a different route. I was thinking, mate, what sort of fucking crazy humble brag is that? Pringles, fucking hell. It's like, well, girth on that one. Holy shit. All right, homie. You can see where he's changing the PR. Let the ladies find out for themselves. Okay.
He is good. But you can't cut Rain. I mean, you can't. These guys need to just ride off into the sunset together as Fast and Furious. All right, like that's it. Like I don't think anyone cares at this point. Either they might, if they crack playoffs with Brokey again, they could make it to a major final again. It's the only tournament.
No, but here's the thing, Launders. I know what you mean.
That they can be good enough.
Put it this way, I used to have a similar take back in the day. I'll actually give you an analogous one. I used to have the same take when they used to have in Big Clan simultaneously God B and Legia. Now, if people don't know, in their own way, both of them were players that had like knowledge about the game. They were veteran players. They were like good for the. But I always used to say you have to pick one. You can't have both at the same time because they were both such low fraggers and they weren't having like good impact individually. That it just means that like at the time, whether it was like Smooyer or Tabs or whoever, they're gonna have to be like 3 times better than the other star player. And that's the worst thing about FaZe, right? Here's where I could accept it, Launders. If you want to keep Carrigan and Rain, then we need like some Falcons budget because we need the other 3 players to be like so fucking insane that like the fragging doesn't matter. But in my opinion, you have to pick one or the other. You can't. I'm not hating on Rain. Rain could stay if we had like some if Blitz was the fucking IGL, then Rain can stay. But it can't be both low frag and then we have issues elsewhere, like Brokey has an off game or they struggle on certain spots. By the way, their map pools are shambles too. Name one map they're really good on. You'd find it hard to, mate. They're just sort of all right on a couple.
Overpass could be something good for them because in general, like how good they used to be on Overpass, and then
it was always a Carrigan map for sure. Yeah,
Elige can be on Overpass. So even though they lost all the effort that they put into Anubis, at least that could be something good for them.
Sure.
It's beyond maps. I'll say, I mean, dude, if it's like beyond them, like Elige, Frozen, and Brokey, they should be responsible for themselves. Like all 3 of these guys are young enough and are like quality enough. Like Frozen has been actually pretty fucking nuts, I think.
Well, I actually think Frozen and Elige are both pretty good players in this team. I don't think it's really their fault. You know, they both seem like they're fine every time I watch them.
Dude, this is the fucking FaZe thing. You never know whose fucking fault it is. It is
True.
Like you can't pin it to one thing with them ever. They're so inconsistent.
Indeed. Well, you know what isn't inconsistent is the wonderful products that are provided by Mando, who make lots of different gear for you. And do you know what? One of the problems, if you're a man, is we're not wizards. And if there's one weird thing I've learned women are incredible at, which is packing to go away. Like, not only do they take like a half a fucking day, as opposed to like, a lot of people probably do it like I did when I was on the road. You just do it 10 minutes before you have to get out the door, right? You just chuck everything in the bag, cram it down, put that zip round, hope it holds. They'll take like half the day. They're figuring out all the different things. And famously, when they take that extra suitcase, it's just full of fucking products, isn't it? Like skincare, hygiene stuff. Well, one of the things as a man is you don't want to take like 7 bottles of stuff, do you? Well, do you know what? Mando has their 4-in-1 acidified cleansing bar. It's a shampoo, a face wash, a body wash, and a deodorant, and you know it, all in one bar. Just how you want it to be. Listen, hopefully in the future they'll also have a thing where, you know, it like works as like a fucking window cleaner, car thing, fucking tattoo remover. We just want everything. As men, we want everything in one bottle to just do it all. This bar does it all. Like I say, it has all the different washing aspects. Also, by the way, it can actually technically work as a 5-in-1 because you can use it as a shaving lather. You can do that effect on it and then also do your shaving if you need to as well. So as a result, you just pop in one bar in there, loads of space free, haven't you? Like if you were a pro player, you could make space for the trophy to bring that home with you. Obviously, it doesn't apply to 99% of you bums watching now. You're not going to win fucking shit anyway. But I guess if you go to a PGL or something, whatever. Listen, that wasn't in the copy. That wasn't in the copy. Yeah, it's still going. And also, they've got their sweat control stick. Now, Lixon, obviously, kyousuke and Donk and all the rest of them, and Zontix will never need that because they go, I don't know. I mean, I've never played CS on a LAN, but it's just like the same server, isn't it? Hey, look, I shot him in the head, lol. It's like, yeah, well, anyway, you'll all learn when you get under those lights. Hey, Chopper, is it hotter in here? Is it just me, mate? Nah, mate, it's just the fucking prestige playoffs now, dickhead. Oh, shit. Oh, God, I'm choking. They don't have like an anti-choking lozenge, but you know what? They do have their sweat control deodorant stick. That stops odor before it starts. So you might be sweating, young CS pro. You will be sweating. Oh, yeah, you will sweat. I'm like Yoda with it. You will fear. But in this scenario, you won't stink. That's the key thing. Well, look, you might stink in the server like Zontix did at that major, but you won't stink literally because when the sweat occurs, that bacteria won't eat it and make that horrible byproduct, which is the BO. Did you know that? Yes. That's what causes BO, unfortunately. So Mando has all these products for you. They have loads of other stuff out there as well, by the way, because it's not just about stopping sweating, it's about stopping the smell. And it was created by a doctor, blah, 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 all that good jazz. Better than using just normal soap. The joke is, some of you are going, soap, good idea. No, this is better than soap. Like, you don't even use soap now. This is way better than the soap you don't use, that your granddad used to use back in the day and probably shave with the edge of a blade that he took home from Nam. And he's like, you fucking kids today with your video games, you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Anyway, my point is, you can get ahead of his technology. You can leave his boomer generation in the jungle where in many ways they never return from. And you can get yourself a Mando starter pack, which is perfect for new customers, you fucking noob kyousuke. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free, he's not listening, 2 free products of your choice. And also, he was judging women, I'm judging him. Yeah, how do you like that, bitch? Exactly, yeah, there you go, homie. I judge you inferior. So anyway, you get 2 free products of your choice, like mini body wash, that's a good one. Deodorant wipes are awesome, keep them by the PC, and free shipping. And as a special offer for our listeners, new customers get 20% off site-wide with our exclusive code, which is, of course, CS2. It's the game that's not quite as good as CSGO, but if you ask everyone who wasn't as good in CSGO and is really good in CS2, they'll tell you it's the better game. How does that work, HLTV.org? I don't know. My first day in media, I guess. So anyway, site-wide, 20% off. Use code CS2 at ShopMando for 20% off site-wide, plus free shipping. That's ShopMando.com in case some dumb fuck like Gels listening, he has to have it spelled out like Sesame Street. Please support our show. Tell them we sent you. We got you covered. Protect your pits. Smell great doing it. That's not actual confirmation that you will be really good on CT Side Inferno. That's the end of that. Right. Listen, there'll never be someone who'll advertise like me in this industry. You have to understand Launders. I have a very unique sort of method. It's how I do it. Also, if you were watching kyousuke, bad luck. You took a few strays there. That's going to happen to you in that team anyway. So just understand.
Like 3 strays in that one, dude.
Listen, it's all good. It's all good. He can dodge around it as he sprayed me. It's all great. And if he was to use the deodorant spray, it goes everywhere. Just like bad spray, I guess. Right. What about ugly points, Launders? If I want to know something ugly in CS, I'm going to come to the ugliest hater of them all. So come on, hit me with it.
There you go.
What ugly point have you got?
Yeah, this is toxic. Okay. What's ugly is whenever I say that Counter-Strike is in a good place, or whenever I feel that way, I am inadvertently basically talking about Tier 1 European Counter-Strike specifically. And
so it's essentially a Counter-Strike dog whistle is what you're saying, right?
I'll be in a moment where I'm watching I don't know some like the major semifinal like recently in the last 6 months. Like there's so many great matches that happen, but every single time it's just a moment where like 2 of the best teams in the world happen to be European or whatever playing against each other at a big Tier 1 event, probably in Europe, and it has nothing to do with the Tier 2 match fixing, the cheating and matchmaking, the state of NACS, the way that anybody else's experience is playing the game. And it makes me realize, like, I don't even enjoy playing the game unless I've got a full stack in Premiere. I enjoy watching Tier 1 Counter-Strike way more than I do playing the game myself right now. And even though the actual quality of the game, I'm totally fine with. I actually think the game feels pretty great. And I sit there and I just deathmatch for hours and everything. The experience of playing 5v5, the experience I imagine of climbing, the experience I imagine of playing in a lot of these qualifiers, or just knowing that people are throwing and cheating in Tier 2. It's just like, I can imagine how horrible that is, even compared to older years of Counter-Strike where there were other problems like DDoSing and stuff. We don't have that as much anymore. It seems like it's pretty terrible for a lot of people who are trying to make that grind happen. And I realize sometimes I'm a little out of touch as someone who watches Tier 1 Counter-Strike. And when I watch that, I say, wow, everything's awesome. When in reality, it's really not for most players.
A lot to touch on there, I suppose. I mean, yeah, I actually, I mean, only anecdotally here, I find that a lot of the complaints at the matchmaking level are overblown. I mean, I almost exclusively play CS in 2 ways right now. I'm playing Premiere. It is admittedly with a 5-stack most of the time, sometimes like 3 to 4 stacks, but yeah, it's always with the majority players. Or I'm playing ESEA main matches where my friends and I just show up and then we just see what we can do. That's fun. Those 2 ways to approach the game are fun for me. So
it's not. I mean, people always cry that it's cheating. There's not that much cheating, you don't think?
I think it's
Last couple
entirely
weeks in
based.
Premiere. It depends on when.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It depends on when. I think at the last end of the season, there was a ramp up in cheating because cheaters recognize, okay, I need to get this badge, or I want to get 25, 50, 75 wins to get the better badge or whatever. And I think at the beginning of the season, there's a bit more cheating. Like Premiere for me, or comp in CSGO by the end of it, I no joke felt like I was running into a cheater 2 out of 3 games. Now in Premiere, I would probably say it's more like 1 out of 8, 1 out of 8, or 1 out of 7 games. I don't know, obviously, if people are hiding it better, but usually if I'm defeated by people and I look at their profiles and match their Steam accounts, like, okay, this guy's got a FaceIt account with also 2.5k elo, 3,000 elo, so I believe that I got beaten by the better player today. But it's not as frequent as it was in the beginning of CS2. It was horrible. Like, it was really bad. I don't know what changed for me specifically, but that's when I felt like we have a huge problem. I think the cheating, I don't know if Vac's gotten better or what. Like, I wish they released more data about this, but I'm sure Valve don't actually want to release more data because then cheaters know what's happening. But it's
counterproductive, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's to me felt at least a little bit better, but can't say much about the tier 2 European match fixing cheating that I'm seeing from the ENT's Twitter.
What I would say is it's one thing if you just know, like, you know, a commentator or an analyst who does tier 2 online tournaments, and they go, it's some dodgy games now, mate, or, oh, I don't know about this one. It's worse than that. As people will have seen, like, I've got a pretty good memory. Just off the top of my head, I might have seen, like, 5 commentators who literally make their money, by the way, doing the tier 2 with online tournaments, basically say, publicly or privately, like, it's just infested with cheating and match fixing, especially for, like, betting purposes. But then also, bro, the amount of players now that I've seen say it is nuts. Like, actually, I will say, generally, one thing players were very good at in CSGO was, they might say they think you cheat if you're like zweih or Rops before you come pro, because you're insanely good at the game. If you were just some online tier 2 guy, that was only at the beginning of CSGO that people were like, I think you bloody cheats again. Like, no one cared. Everyone just assumed you could just be a good player online. Like, the amount of people now where you see it is actually like the ENT's level teams that are like, I think we're just getting cheated against here, mate. Like, this isn't even like, you know, like their whole team might be cheating. And in fact, one of the problems, if people don't know, is one of the most effective ways to match fix now for betting purposes is people just get literally like a clean feed of the fucking game with 0 delay, and they're just watching what's essentially like the ultimate wall hack, because you're just seeing like their POVs and shit like that. Like, it's not even like you need the wall hack itself with all that tech and you're just watching what they're doing as they're doing it, and you can just avoid, like, that's why you see these crazy rounds where it's not even that someone does like a lock, it's that they just perfectly avoid the person and never have to look at certain angles and just go onto the site and they never get shot in the side of the head. Like, there are that's not just the odd person who's bitter who's saying that now, or someone where that's like their shtick to go like it's full of cheaters. Like, everyone's saying it now. So I agree. I know what you mean, Launders. Essentially, in a weird way, we have the privilege that you can do what I do, mate, which is you just be an elitist and go, look, I don't even really care once we get past like number 15 in the world rankings. Like, I want to see the best teams play at the lands and as long as there's no cheating there, I can sort of just go, I don't mind the rest. But I know what you mean. Like, this is a massive issue. Like, first of all, it's going to stop. Think about the discussion about NiP. It's going to stop some teams that actually might be good on land from getting to lands. Like, they're going to run into cheaters 2 or 3 times in some sort of a CCT or online comp. And that means you won't get to see them play through. Because I've always thought the biggest flaw with online cheating is whenever you find out someone cheated after the fact, it's almost never in enough time that the next match hasn't been played. And as soon as the next match is played, yeah, we can kick the team out who cheated, but we can't run the whole bracket back again. So unfortunately, everyone who's a victim of that cheat gets, whether they get found guilty or not, doesn't get to continue on. So it does fuck the scene. And then also, I will just say this. The only region that basically counts as this is just the whole Asian rise up at the moment, which, by the way, might already be dead, jokes aside, because Thailand's already fucking bombed out the tournament. But at least we've shown some improvement there. You know, it's not just Mongols. But I will say this. I do think not only is online play really bad, but you can tie into the classic one of NA as well. I do think in history, when people look back, people have missed this one detail, which is it is specifically North America that was completely drained by Valorant. That is the game that just took all the, like, maybe next talents, the people who were a million miles from being the next talent, but one day would have been, by the way, by now they would have been, it'd be like 5 years later, like now is when they would have been really good. Like, by the way, even people who were already bona fide really good players, like Ethan just fucking went off. Like, you can't get players like that back. And unfortunately, if you ever go and look at the top European Valorant players, none of them were even top pros in CS. Most of them were in CS, by the way, but they were like, like this guy was on like this 4th best Finnish team, or this guy was on like the 9th best Russian team. Players you've never even heard of before. So Valorant Europe didn't get drained in the same way. NA just got completely destroyed the whole talent scene. So I know what you mean. Like, look, it's as long as you only care like an elitist, there's still loads of great CS to watch. It's still mega. Yeah. But I agree, that pipeline of all the rest outside, which is the rest of the ecosystem, it looks like it's in really bad shape. And I actually predict, I don't know who it'll be, but we will have some Four Horsemen episodes about those topics. So like the idea that people are match fixing everywhere and cheating. Because I just keep hearing it so much. It's not, like I say, it's not like one person with an axe to grind. Bro, at this point, it's like almost everyone says it's going on. And it sounds like it's pretty like ubiquitous as a problem, which is really bad.
Yeah, I get a little bit like I like in Dota, for example, like I think it's the DPC system just didn't work for like NA, and just like NA just doesn't really even exist in Dota anymore, right? Like it's just they got ruined. Like even my friend who he doesn't watch esports as much. This is like my real life friend, but he loves Dota. He doesn't even know how to follow that game anymore. Right. He doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know what, and it's like if you lose those fans, you lose everybody. Yeah, yeah. And the VRS is just our version of that. And so it feels like VRS can have like a lot of upside eventually, but like along the way, like there will be casualties in terms of like the regions, the orgs that want to come in. What if it'll ever be solved as well is also something we leave up in the air, because we know with Valve that they can make smart moves, but you also don't know if like everything will work. It doesn't always work. I think we get lucky in Counter-Strike because the game is so good. We have like a very like a game that kind of grows itself and everything, but I just I worry about the smaller regions, but at least it's true for sure that Asia is like coming up, because if it wasn't for that, what other region would there be to look forward to? Like, yeah.
Okay then, Maui, what we going with? What's your ugly point?
Yeah, so mine is we touched on him. I already hinted at it that I wanted to talk about Zweih for Spirit. You see all of these guys getting promotions, the Kyousuke's, Mikaze's, and upgrades up for other teams. And to me, this is supposed to be an on-paper upgrade, but I already feel like this is going to be at mostly a side grade. I feel like one aspect of Zweih that I really dislike is actually something that was revealed to me today when looking at the ESL broadcast. They did an interview with Zweih, one of their just content pieces, and he says the typical line that everybody's saying now, that's "I don't get nervous," but it was the kicker that really had me scratching my head, where he said, "I don't get nervous because I'm already friends with Donk and Chopper and Zontix." So it's like, so you're saying this was like a nepotism hire just because you're cool with these guys? And Donk apparently told him that Spirit was interested in him as long as he plays well at the major. And yeah, he played pretty well for an Amiga and everything. And the way that Zweih got on this team almost feels like they had already kicked Magix, and that they were already good. As long as Zweih just had a heartbeat at the major, he was going to get onto the team. And from seeing today, he was not that sick. He made a lot of mistakes, and I just don't necessarily feel like this is the greater picture here. Is just that this doesn't feel like it solves anything for Spirit for me. This isn't really a big enough upgrade. He's still going to have to use bad weapons just like Magix did in order to just try to accommodate the system that Chopper's running. And yeah, by the end of it, they got it over the line. Okay, they beat Heroic, sure, but even Zweih, just the one-to-one Zweih to himself, Zweih destroyed Heroic as an individual when he played them when he was on Amiga, because he got better positions, slightly better resources, and now again kind of going into the Magic spots, and he didn't really show up. He wasn't really that good. He was a liability on Ancient for sure when he was on that T side trying to lurk. He was just giving up deaths left and right. And I didn't really see that much better to make me impressed on Nuke. So I feel like Spirit, despite the change, finds themselves in a holding pattern. This is obviously in some ways a hot take, because all I've seen is one series from Spirit so far. but I just dislike the way that zweih was brought into the roster, and I don't think that. I think he's better than Magic's in like if I put him in like an aim map 10 times, I think Magic's will lose that, but I just don't think he's that much better. So I just don't think Spirit really improved.
Yeah, I guess the question is, are you building a team that can beat Vitality, and if not, why are you doing it? And if we looked at the last season, funnily enough, Vitality would say Spirit are the team we're most afraid of. Even though Mels are playing closer, Falcons are playing closer, they were always worried about Donk and Spirit and their system. And there's definitely something that they lost with Magic's, where he's kind of like maybe like the Faflaren of the team. Like NiP never ever recovered after Faflaren left. And Spirit are quite young in comparison, but I think they could definitely feel it themselves that they are taking a risk. I'll say that zweih did do a good job at the major of catching my attention. Like his aim and everything was really good, and they also might have been in a position where kyousuke said no to them to go to Falcons, so then they felt like they had to make some kind of upgrade to keep pace. And I think we might be just as critical of them if they had kept Magic's than if they had switched over to zweih. But it's true, he was the one bad debut for Cologne so far, which is kind of tough.
No, I have to say, so far it's looked really bad initially, which also sucks because like he's a player where, because Magic's brought all those intangibles, you have to frag in the server, otherwise everyone's not going to give a fuck about this move, because everyone already assumes Magic's did stuff that didn't show up on a scoreboard, where since you're just a random brand new kid who already sounds cocky from your interviews, like you have to just do it in the server, mate, and people won't accept anything else. And I actually do think it's a bummer, because if you did see him playing Amiga at the major, he actually had some really fucking good moments. Like he did look like his skills were fucking sick. So if you're doing the copium as a Spirit fan, like, we didn't get kyousuke, but it's all right, we've got zweih. It's like, well, that hasn't activated yet at all. And unfortunately, I know what you mean, Launders. If you take the Spirit roster that you had last year and that won the major, right? If the only reason you make a move there is that you're trying to be number one and beat Vitality, like already you were a very good team. You were still like a top 4 team in the world. You could win like the PGLs of the world. You probably wouldn't. Look, no one wins events that Vitality goes to at the moment anyway. So you could have had the whole angle where like, look, everyone in that team did seem like they liked each other and vibed and had like chemistry, and they had like the mixture of the vets and the younger player. If you're going to disrupt all that, one, it has to be number one in the world, and two, it has to work. I'm sorry, if it doesn't work, everyone's going to fucking hate this movement. Like, the joke is, here's the difference. When Brokey comes back to FaZe, the problem there is Brokey isn't simple and he's not going to be a superstar player. Fans will ask for Magic's back if zweih doesn't work, by the way, mate. Like, they'll just want this guy to come back and just bring it back again. But this will tie also to what my point will be after this. But I do think there's enormous... I think this guy has more pressure on him, this is a hot take, than like kyousuke. Because I think kyousuke with NiP and Monacy, he's almost guaranteed to get some results. Like, he's going to be in some finals, probably even win a trophy. I think if you're zweih, people literally expect you now to be able to win everything, because the move now is supposed to be this was going to put us over the top, but you aren't as hyped a player as that. You aren't as good a player as that, as far as I can tell. So there's going to be crazy pressure on this guy, and I don't even know what that angle is, but I'm already mates to them all. Like, bro, please, Russians, please just understand what pressure is. It's not that you can't. It's not that the table's different. It's not that the game server's different. The feeling is different. You fucking idiots. You haven't felt it yet, so you don't know what it's like. By the way, some of you haven't even been in the fucking arena yet. How do you know what pressure feels like? It's so weird, isn't it? Like, you know what? I'm going to give you the analogy. Yeah, insert all your own jokes, guys. It's all good. This is the audience participation part of the show. You sound like a teenager who's never actually had sex, bragging about how great you are at sex. That's what you sound like at the moment, by the way, guys. You sound like, yeah, but I do this stuff. You don't know what you do, mate. You don't know what you do till you're there with that pepper sweat going, oh, God, last 10 more seconds. Or whatever I've heard people do in movies, whatever. I'm in there like arrogant, trying to come up with a new T-side strat on the fly. Bloody hell, I'm gonna do it to steal the team. Come on.
Well, with the last iteration of Spirit, they were probably guaranteed 1 or 2 trophies this year.
Yeah.
So there is a standard, whereas Falcons, they haven't won one. So, well,
they won that PGL one.
They won PGL, yeah.
But that was with Dexter.
Yeah, but the bar is much lower. No major, no big S-tier event. So that's what zweih has to step up to.
Yes. But I understand you're really good at the game, so you also think you'll be good at handling pressure. You think you can do 2 things at once. Well, you know what? I don't know if you can. It takes time to get that good. But if you had a wonderful Turtle Beach headset, then you could do two things at once, because they have their dual player system where you plug in to two devices at once, and you can be playing on a console and also like have music in the background from a speaker. You could take a call while you're doing something else, like pause while you're listening to a podcast or something. You could do all these things at once. Also, by the way, as well as this being actually a pretty good headset with a nice microphone and all that jazz, also memory foam, so it's not all annoying on your ears. They also don't just actually sell headphones, believe it or not. They have mice, they have keyboards, they have flight sticks, they have like steering controllers, they have everything you could imagine pretty much in the game that you could want. And also, as you can imagine, they've got insane battery life. It has like this Stealth 700 headset I just showed there has 80-hour battery life with quick charge, so if you haven't charged it, it also charges it really quickly if you just need to commute for an hour or two. So head to turtlebeach.com and use the code CSGO. That's right, the superior game of the two. The patrician's choice, some would say. In other words, just not for you fucking noobs or people who ever did anything in a real game. Yeah, that's right, GLs of the world. That was the better game. I know you don't think so, because you have to believe that you being good isn't just being in some randy little shit sandbox where you can't even make a jump. Yeah, brilliant, innit? Just turn off my brain and shoot people. Anyway, whatever. I hope you have a career. Enjoy your life. Married to that, whatever. But anyway, head to turtlebeach.com and use the code CSGO for 10% off your entire order. So actually, it doesn't have to just be for the Stealth 700s. You can get anything off their website. That's 10% off your order at turtlebeach.com. With promo code CSGO. After you purchase, if they ask where did you hear about us, please say Last Free Nation or Snake and Banter. That will help us. It will help you. You can get 10% off. There you go. Now we'll go on to the last point of the show. And this is going to tie into it. It's actually going to tie together a whole bunch of things. So you know the thing I referenced in the intro, right? So B-Trams, which is one of the nerds that's in the Mauisnake group who comes up with some of the stats stuff. There's a few different people who like that, by the way. I'm not saying that just to be derogatory. There's a few of them that fit that exact same archetype. Or could just be Maui on fucking alt accounts. Except they aren't, because they actually do fucking mad grind and all the numbers and that. He did, I thought, actually a really interesting stats breakdown. Well, what he tried to show mathematically was who are the mega 1v9 giga carries in CS. And what's clever is this guy even gets the framing because he did two angles to it. He did the people where if they play badly, essentially if they do worse than a 1.0 HLTV rating, how often does their team win the map? But then he also went the other way and found out when they carry, how often does that make you win? So he also showed both sides of being the mega carry. And what I'm going to pick specifically from what he found here is the framing. This will tie into the zweih conversation. Holy shit! It is now proven, Launders. If donk gets below 1.0 rating, my dude, they have a 0% win rate. They just don't ever win. They don't ever win. I mean, think about this game you just saw, like, just recently, this ancient game. Like, this motherfucker has to be, like, God, just for them to have a chance to sneak over the finish line. Like, it is crazy. And that the reason why I thought that was a really interesting graphic is he also showed historically, he showed, like, you know, Simple in Na'Vi and fucking Zimu in the Bad Masuta. Yeah, Vitality. The reason why this has got a Nico and Nico Sports, the reason why these are all great is we all know these are the classic examples of the guy who has to 1v9 and carry or be really good all the time. But the difference, as he showed there, was, mate, there are levels to this shit. Like, believe it or not, currently, right now, if you're a Zimu fan, stop that narrative that he 1v9s. There's a stat that says when Zimu doesn't get 1.0, they still win over a third of the time. That's how good his team is now. He's got teammates, bro. But holy shit, bro, I'm not even joking. You could go look at any historical one-launders. Even other people who were really bad, they were like, you know, 11% they can win if they do. Donk is 0. His team just cannot win the map if he doesn't play well. I've actually never seen that in CS ever, mate. It's impossible. It's mental.
Yeah. No, I thought Zaiwu had the record where it was
think
like,
so,
I think
yeah.
that was brought up before Paris, where it was like they won 2 games that, you know, he had a lower than 1.0 rating. I've never heard of 0 before.
It's mad, isn't it?
It is a symptom of the structure of the team too. I think that they do put everything into donk when it comes to all their site execs, how their utility goes, where he paths and everything. It's extremely structured. I think the other example would be like how James sets up star players, but we're not really watching them in tier 1 right now. So Spirit are sort of like that one team that are doing this style of like setting up one guy to take everything and then making sure he's perfectly supported, and then his aim is always good, so he always frags. But then I think psychologically there's something that happens. I've experienced this when I played with players who are too much better than me sometimes. I have been in games where I think even if I miss this kill, we'll still win. So
Right.
I mentally kind of go down a level because I'm like, I'll be saved. And I feel like in Spirit, you get that a lot. Like you get Donk and Shiro who know that they both need to show up, or one will just carry over the other. But then on the bottom, man, they just have like they're just like they have no floor at all. Like it's like it feels like for sure mentally they just assume they'll be able to pull it off if they just put all their eggs into supporting the two strongest players at that in that map, as opposed to them being the reason that they win. I feel like mentally there isn't really that atmosphere on the team.
What I love that B-Trams did with this is that he showed that statistically, it's actually okay when Zontic says he doesn't feel any pressure, because you can win over 50% of the games that you play with under a 1.0 rating. So why would he ever feel pressure?
He's objectively proven us
He's the
wrong.
one guy who isn't lying, yeah.
He's fucked us.
No, B-Trams is fantastic. He sits in my Twitch chat all day, and if I have an idea of like, oh, wouldn't it be cool to look up this, then he just makes it a reality really quickly. So I'm super lucky that he's just sitting in my chat all day.
I just love the idea you have some fucked up court around yourself, like some medieval king, like, sire, I found the new evidence to prove your thing. Like, by the way, I actually once saw a joke online that reminds me of that. There is a banger. If you've ever done Twitch streaming, this is so on point. They said, how come Twitch streamers call for mods like a medieval king calling for guards? It's like, guards, get this man out of here. Like, that is what it's like with the mods. Like, get him out there, mods. Mods, get him out.
Definitely had a couple incidents like that from my throne. The donk stats are ridiculous. I was surprised actually. I mean, also to give Rez credit, you know, kind of in regards to the bad point. I mean, he also is almost under the same scrutiny that Donk is, where you're only winning 11.5% of the games, the matches where you have under a
Dude, I'll tell you the cool one that people would miss, because it ties in as, again, I always mention things that back up our other points. Dude, Stair was the one that was surprising too. Stair basically has to play well, or Australia's just loses mates. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think that's confirmed the eye test that a lot of people have had. And I mean, Thorin, you brought it up before that, you know, pound for pound, he's the best player for that team because he has to succeed. I don't think Stair has necessarily had the highest highs compared to people that are on this list, like Donk, K-Serrano, Rez, Antara's Frozen, but he's getting it done so regularly. It almost feels like that's actually a testament to his consistency, because when is he ever getting
he was doing that with shit spots too.
Yeah.
Like he was impressing from shit positions. Like he was surrounded by, it was like fucking Blame F, Device, Jabby, Stair. That was the only players in Denmark that could have outshone him as a new talent, and he took every shit role, and he still was more impressive than them in a lot of games. So it's good that now he gets better spots, and even Jabby said he's given him some of his roles too, right?
No, that's hype. Yeah,
that's good.
And by the way, in general, if you look at that graphic, anyone who's one of those five, Zantaras was there to mad respect to all those players. Like, I can't even imagine the mental fortitude you have to go into the game knowing if you play badly, it's just over. Like, fucking hell, bro. Like, God bless if you can handle that strain. Fair play.
Oh yeah, for sure. I also, the historical ones are great too, because it helps highlight how important Guardian was for Na'Vi.
Oh, for
if
sure.
You look at it in one of his later replies to him, as he made more graphics, that Guardian is the team win percentage when a player has a 1.2 rating or above in the match. He had the highest win percentage of all time. Even simple pre-Na'Vi, even Kenny S Titan, Guardian, when he had that kind of rating, his team was winning over 90% of the time. I think that's kind of like part to having some decent players around you, but it just means that you're pure impact. If you're putting up above a 1.2, like he kind of noticeably doesn't necessarily put, if say like Rop's Mouse Sports 2021 had above a 1.2, or Blame F back when he was playing with Astralis, it was almost like the win was agnostic of their rating.
Sure.
Yeah, that's awesome.